Todaya, for your mercy and your grace. First and foremost, we say Todaya. Giving all the praise to the Most High, yeah. I know you don't condone some of the things that we do. We put ourselves in a situation where we're searching for you. Your line is always open, so I'm a place to call. If we're not doing your commandments, you won't answer at all. Your mercy, your grace, every day is priceless. To the wicked and sin, your judgment is righteous. I done had my baby step, let no need for me to crawl. Always had myself with my back against the wall. I don't want to be the goat that's called to the left. We all are given a choice, life or death. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace.
Yes, I'm here in this bad situation. Yeah, I'm not forsaken. That's why I'm thankful. I repeat to the commandments every chance. Have my mental flip like I was doing backhands. You gave me grace to understand what you were saying. You order my steps where every foot laying. I can't, never say I can't. Perfect is your will and all that you create. I thank you in advance so my praise won't be late. Time to navigate to a different place. Till then, catch me with my hands up raised. Out my mouth, the main thing I be saying. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace.
Todaya, for your mercy and your grace. The funny thing is, I shouldn't be living today, but I'm alive. This is not a mirage. The system been modified and men been idolized. Trusting Yahweh time, my people been traumatized. We said that we gonna rise. Well, it's on our side. This is a homicide. If our enemies wanna try, only one is worthy to be praised, and that is Abba Yah. I'm so thankful, I'm conscious, battling my flesh and keeping it out hostage with no option. All glory to the Father for making it all possible. Running through these obstacles because the wicked is diabolical.
Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace. Todaya, 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 for your mercy and your grace.
My bad, I'm doing a whole bunch of talking. Told by Yah for his mercy. Shabbat shalom to the brethren. We got a special guest, Nathan. Don't bother him.
Nathan.
He's gonna be sleeping in a minute. But yeah, man, what's going on with you? How you doing today?
Baruch, man, thankful. Right here in this land by exile, waiting for our return home, man. So I was telling y'all for that, man. For everything that y'all's done and everything that y'all's doing right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, that ain't what you want, man. That ain't good for your gums, is it? You're not killing. But you wanna pray us in here, man, so we can get some understanding about the title and bring forth the message to the people. Please.
All right. Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, Bahasham Yahushua Mashiach, Father Yahweh, we come to you, blessed you, Yahweh, King and ruler of the universe, of the world, Yahweh. We thank you, Father Yah. We ask you that you would bring forth this message through these vessels, your people, your children right now, Father Yah. You bring forth understanding, knowledge, and give us the chokmah, the wisdom to apply these things and to speak these things for the hearing of the people, that they may be edified, that they may esteem you, Father Yahweh. May you take away all the leaven that has been in the people from uh, following the ways of the nations that they have brought and carried into this awakening, into this walk, Father Yahweh, that we may separate from those false doctrines and that leaven, and that we may just walk in the pureness of your way, in the truth, the way, and the life. In Yahushua Mashiach's name, we ask you that you have your way, Father Yahweh. In Yahushua Mashiach's name, we pray. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So be it. Hallelujah.
Be it.
So the topic at hand, separating from Christianity and the doctrines of men. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, so many on that topic right now. What comes to mind now is just so much that a lot of people then took from Christianity and brought over here, and it's been perpetuated down and shared as if it's the truth, but it's a lie and it's leaven, and we need to get past it. So, I just want to get off into this as the Ruach Yahweh move and lead us into it, to bring it forth for the people to hear, so that we can get away from these things and get away from them lies and that false teachings and stuff that we, people then held on to, and still preaching it and still teaching it as if it's the truth. So, all esteem to Yahweh for raising up people that desire his truth and want to do it his way, so that they can get away, so they can get rid of that leaven that's been amongst the people. So that's what I want to say to that.
Absolutely. Oh, we see how, man, in this awakening, you start to learn that a lot of the perceptions and things that we got from Christianity, that we get from Islam, that we get from many other religions, that these things were geared for a type of a bondage. That even though you may feel free, even though you may feel to have elevated, to have illuminated, that you've been given something that's, for all intents and purposes, has been poisoned. And all poisons ain't immediate. Some poisons take time to take effect. That's why, Hamashiach tells us to seek the kingdom, and Solomon says to seek after wisdom and after knowledge, because you're gonna have to sift through poison. You're gonna have to sift through false doctrines of men, and throw out the bad bathwater, but keep the baby. And we realizing that we leave the churches behind, we leave the holidays behind, and the practices, but many people have kept the revelations or the perceptions and the doctrines of Christianity. Like, you don't believe in Christmas no more, but you still believe in, the 144,000. You still believe in, Jacob's trouble in the end times, the 7 years of tribulation and all that. You know what I'm saying? And we'll address many of these things upcoming, right? But today we're going to be addressing Jacob's trouble and how many of the things that we are waiting on has already transpired. You know, we have to understand that the fall of Jerusalem was epic. You know, that it was the focal point of a lot of prophecy and of a lot of judgments of prophecy. And Habakkuk said, the day of the Adonai, or the Lord, day of the Lord will come upon us like a thief in the night. Well, his return will come upon us like a thief in the night, meaning it'll sneak up on us, meaning we won't be aware of it. Well, many will not be aware or expecting it. And the best way it could creep upon you unawares is that you're looking for something else. So if you're of a mindset of there's these chain of events that have to happen in order for him to come back, but you're seeing it in the wrong context, then he could already be on his way back, but you think he ain't even got in the car yet. So that's what we intend to touch on here today. Let's get with that Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 8. I think it's chapter 8 or 7, where it talks about Jacob's trouble. Where do we get the term Jacob's trouble? Where does it come from? Many people have heard it, but they probably don't know the context in which it was said. So let's touch
Ezekiel, Yirmiyahu, or Ezekiel?
Oh, my bad. Jeremiah chapter 30. Sorry.
Hallelujah.
Hold on. Let me get with you. Jeremiah chapter 30. Let me fix this real quick. I'll come up. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jeremiah chapter 30. And the word came to Yirmiyahu from Yah, saying, thus speaketh
Yahweh Alahi Yashar.
Yahweh Alahi Yasharal, or Yah Alahi Yasharal, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith Yah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people, Yasharal, and Yehuda, saith the Adonai, saith Yah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Yah spake concerning Yasharal and concerning Yehuda. For thus said Yah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, said Yah Zabaoth, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. And they shall serve Yah their Ala'i, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yah, Neither be dismayed, O Yasharal, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, said Yah, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. For thus saith Yah, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with a wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one. For the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. He says, I have done these things unto thee. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil. And all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, said Yah, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Hold on, excuse me. Thus said Yah, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places. And the city shall be builded upon her own heap, and a palace shall remain after the manner thereof. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry, and I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. I will also esteem them, and they shall not be small. Their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregation shall be established before me, and I will punish all that oppress them. And the nobles shall be of themselves, and their governor shall proceed from the midst of them. Won't be no heathen reigning over us when this comes to pass. That's what they scared of too, by the way. And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engaged his heart to approach unto me? Saith the Adonai. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. What you think about that, Al?
Cut and dry. Yah said he's going to bring us back. He's going to bring back the whole tents of Yaqub and bring them back on their own land. Everybody that would devour them shall be devoured. Everybody that would pray, he would give for prey. Everybody that, that led into captivity shall go into captivity, and they shall be spoiled. So, Yah is bringing restitution and vengeance, restitution and retribution upon the ones that did the wrong to us and did, that sought us as a prey and afflicted us, and retribution by restoring us back into our homeland and the covenant, and bringing us back home and giving us, making us become more numerous than our forefathers, which is a beautiful thing. And he's gonna heal us of all our wounds. and cure us of that disease, cure us of those things that was incurable, because he did it. Only Yah can do it. The one that did the harm is the one that can bring the wholeness. You know, so
he prophesied this destruction, this trouble that was going to come before us. Let's go to the book of Leviticus.
Yeah. Before we go into Leviticus and Yaqri, man, I want to say this too. Now, mind you, how did it switch from Yaakov's trouble to these good promises that's going to happen in hand? This is the thing. The blueprint's been set out. Everything that was going to be done is already written out. Because Yah, he spoke of the beginning. He spoke of the end from the beginning. Where in Dabarim, you know, a lot of people like to speak about Dabarim 28 and the curses and the blessings and the curses. And then Dabarim 30 says that after the blessings and the curses come upon you and you in the land of captivity and you call them in mind, you consider, and then that's what's happening. And then they turn back to the Most High Yah. The Most High Yah turn back to them and remember the covenant and will bring them back to their own head. That's why he's saying that, because he see that that's what's happening. He see that's what's going on. He already see it afar off, and he's speaking of these things as prophecy, and the prophecy is being fulfilled, and it's going to happen. We still yet waiting for the fulfillment thereof for us to be brought back to our own homeland, and for these things to happen, where we sit up on our own shade tree, up on our own shade tree, and it's going to be playing in the streets, and children being multiplied, and my sister Uriah gonna grab the baby, and he see all that, you know what I mean? So I understand the Yahweh for all that, you know.
Oh
yeah. So, yeah. So that's all.
No, because this is the thing about Jacob's trouble that a lot of people aren't missing, right? Jacob's trouble is the prophesying, or is the fulfillment of the destruction that Yah promised, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, the reason why it's all about the separation from the doctrines of Christianity is because Christianity has to find a way to include itself in the scriptures, in the positive. It's trying to cleave to Jacob in such a way that it makes Jacob not realize that Christianity is the arm that brought the destruction. I mean, for real. Like, when you do your research on it, we got a video we're going to watch about how Catholicism produced Christianity, and how Catholicism, in all intents and purposes, was an abomination to the Yahudim. All their practices, all their beliefs was an abomination to the people known as the Jews and the Israelites. And that they were converted under the penalty of death and slavery. And those that would not convert willingly was tortured and killed, and their children were sold into slavery. This is how you got to be in the Americas. How a large number of us got to be in Americas. There were some apparently who were already here, you know, from traveling from previous persecutions. The Most High been sending out, you know, destruction upon the hard-hearted and stiff-necked people. You know, this ain't just started. But let's get into, you know, the original prophecies about what not listening to his commandments, not following out after his commandments would bring. So you could understand Jacob's trouble, because there's a reason why Jacob was going through trouble. He's going through trouble because he didn't listen to what was said and what was told.
Kind of.
So let's get into that. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1. Ye shall make you no idols nor graven image, neither rear you up a standing image, Neither shall ye set up any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it. For I am Adonai Yahweh.
I am
Yahweh.
Yah Elohecha. Yeah. Yah, your mighty one.
Ye shall keep my Shabbat. Plural is Shabbatim, ain't it?
Shabuot.
Shabuot.
Well, like Shabbatin, Shabbat, you can say Shabbatin, but Shabuot, it'd be the old in the end, like Shabbatin, like Shabuot. Almost like Shabuot. Shabuot is 50. So Shabuot is more like Sabbath, like plural. It's a plural. The old Shabbatin.
Read the thing. For me, I need to pause real quick.
Okay.
Can you read that for me all the way down to 9? I'll be with you on it.
Okay. Okay. And ye shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am Yahweh. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit, and your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time, and ye shall eat your bread to the full and dwell in your land safely. And I will give you shalom in the land, peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. And I will rid evil beasts out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. And you shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemy shall fall before you by the sword. You have to scroll down. I can continue.
I don't know what's going on with
Yeah.
your thing, but you was straight on robot mode right there. I was trying to handle that call, but let me start off. I do it. That's crazy.
Okay. 17.
Ye shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Adonai. Well, I am Yah. If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. And your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time. And ye shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. And I will give peace in the land, and ye shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. And I will rid the evil beast out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. And ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight. And your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. For I will have respect unto you, man, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. And ye shall eat old store. That means you got so much, you got to eat the old first. Ye shall eat old store, and bring forth the old because of the new. And I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not bear. Now listen, when you're hearing about all these gifts, all these quote unquote blessings, you have to keep in mind that this ain't nothing to worry about. This ain't nothing to be troubled over. What you need to be troubled over and will be troubled over is the opposite of this.
Right. Disobedience.
Curses.
Right. Obedience bring these things right here. So that's nothing to be worried about. Be worried about being disobedient and not hearing, because that's going to bring the other.
Yes. Jacob's trouble could be summarized as Jacob's judgment.
Punishment. right? Punishment, whooping, chastisement, discipline.
Yes, the Most High is going to talk about all this. So how is it after the awakening, after the return to righteousness, should Jacob qualify for judgment?
Come on now.
Now, granted, those that did not return, they are going to get something.
Right.
Please don't get that twisted. They got to pay for all of the wickedness that they've done. But don't confuse the two. People like to lump it all in together, like everybody black is getting tortured and all this. Understand that the righteous was usually persecuted by their own people, not by heathens.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the majority of it, I won't say all of it, because there has been I guess precedent for the heathen to punish the righteous. I'm not even 100% sure about that. I just want to leave room. So
what was you saying?
Huh?
What was you saying?
Can't hear me?
I said, what was you saying?
About the fact of, the righteous of the people usually get persecuted by the people.
Right. Right. That's
right?
a fact. I heard, yeah, you absolutely correct on that. I heard something about rarely does he use the heathen to correct the right. Now,
no, I'm saying like
okay.
The righteous get persecuted by the people, so it's rarely the righteous being punished by the heathens. You get what I'm saying?
Right. So when it's I was gonna bring something to confirm that real quick. When it's a national punishment going forth, or a national chastisement for the whole full nation, like say for instance captivity, like Nebuchadnezzar coming against Jerusalem and bringing the people into captivity. See, everybody suffered. Righteous along with the wicked, they brought in captivity, but it fared well with the righteous, even in the land of captivity, like Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys, to be example, right? Because they made their stand for righteousness and they continued in that. But like you said, at all times, it's always been the people persecuting the righteous of their own. See, the Most High don't come and bring wrath upon the children of obedience. He bring wrath upon the children of disobedience. There's trouble for those that do not walk in obedience, that don't have a circumcised heart. That's where the trouble is coming for. That's who the trouble's coming for. Yah always rescue the righteous. Many are the affliction of the righteous, but Yah rescued them out of them all. Even when you look at Mashiach, when he was explaining about what was to come about, leading up to the destruction of Jerusalem, and telling the righteous how to escape their persecution and what to see and what to look for before it came, so they can escape. You see what I'm saying? So, and they had to attain it by emunah, because emunah comes by hearing and hearing of the word of Yah. So they applied it when they heard and seen it. Now, if they didn't do that and ignored that fact, then hey, they had to suffer the consequences because it's about taking heed to the instructions, following through with what the word of Yah say, the commandments, the laws, the statutes, and even the ever preceding word that proceeded from the mouth of Yahweh. You get what I'm saying? And that's what qualifies one to be safe or in safety. But he never, if you read the book, even in Joel, when he talks about the day of Yahweh, said them that call upon the name of Yah shall be saved. Meaning, when you calling upon Yah, it doesn't mean calling upon a verbal name. It means calling upon his ways, his actions, meaning like doing it. I'll give you a good example. Here go a good hint. Actions speak, the cliche, actions speak louder than words. So actions is also a conversation. You get what I'm saying? So what you do is what converts to the Malakim that you in line, right? Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
What you do, I'm really speaking to the people out there too. What you do is what converts to the Malakim, to those where you at. So a person can speak and say something all day long, but whatever their actions is, that's the conversation that's going to be fought, that's going to be taken upon too, because he's going to judge each man according to what? His works, which is a doing, which is an action, which is also a conversation. That's why we got to be careful in every manner of conversation, whether it be verbal or action. that we line up with what thus says Yah. So them that call upon the name of Yah, them that's calling, that's starting to keep his commandments, following his ways, and doing what Yah say do. That's calling upon the name. But them that do so like that shall be saved, shall be delivered. Because Yah is not unjust. He's a righteous judge, just judge and king. And he said, for those that listen and take heed and do, these are the barakah that's going to follow them. But those that do otherwise, the flip side to that coin, because they're not listening and taking heed, is this curses. So that's what I wanted to share and bring that out to the people so people can be fully edified on that. Yeah. I esteem Yah for that. So that's what it is. But let's continue to read, man, and get back in this and stay in that flow where you was at. Continuing.
Oh, man, I messed up.
Shabbatot.
Oh, man. Something went wrong here.
How you mess up? What you do?
Okay. I'm back now. I was over pressing buttons trying to do something on the computer and it threw everything off. But anyway, we back. We back now.
We back. You back.
10, no. 11. And I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not abhor you.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean if you not doing what he say? His tabernacle is not going to be among you, and he will abhor you?
That's right. Flip side to the coin.
Flip side. I will walk among you, and I will be your mighty one, and ye shall be my people. I am Yah, your Alai, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, that ye should not be their bondmen, and I have broken the bands of your yoke and made you go upright.
Hold on, pause real quick. I want to elaborate on this yoke, or him breaking the yoke. We just read it in Yirmiyahu too about him breaking the yoke, and that yoke has to do with what was the people in Mizraim doing? They was following the ways of Mizraim. They was worshiping the false ones of Mizraim. They had that same type of institution that Mizraim instituted in regards to belief system, and that was a yoke.
This was transgression of the law. So they were yoke and bondage to sin.
Exactly. So he's gonna break that. How is he gonna break it? Huh? How do people know?
Living word.
With the living word. The Ruach HaKodesh, the living word. That's right. Mashiach said, my words that I speak to you are Ruach and Chai, are Ruach and life. Now, come on. We got to follow the truth.
Said, I come to set you free. Well, he said, my yoke is easy.
Right. His yoke is
easy. Right. So he's going to put a new burden on you. That's not the burden of sin, but the burden of righteousness.
That's right. Obedience unto righteousness, which leads to life and barakah.
The rod of correction he going to bring on you.
That's going to drive the foolishness at your heart.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hallelujah. All praises for that.
Yeah.
Rod of correction. Sure needed it. Because the world been beating on me long enough. That rod of correction can't be too bad. Can't be too bad. The world got me locked up, stressed out. You know.
But that's the secret. Here go the secret. Here go the secret right there. I wouldn't even say secret, but here go the thing, the hidden hand. That was our Yah. You know, that was Yah, because Yah's the one that can't nobody do nothing on this earth unless he gives consent. So Yah's the one that allowed whatever's happened, whether a person being led to jail, whether a person being stressed out by this and that and this and that, straits and sorrows and different things like that. That's Abba Yah releasing and releasing stuff like that to get people in shape and in line, to drive that far from them, in expectation that you will come to your senses and be like, oh, I give up. Enough is enough. Yeah, what do I need to do? I'm listening. I'm listening now. I'm doing it. I'm listening. Yeah, I know. You're going to listen. Yeah. You're going to mind. You're going to mind something around here. I know. No, that's real. That's real talk, though, man. I sit here and laugh and he and ha. It's very serious, though, you know.
Yeah,
it's very serious. And I'm glad that a lot of people is really waking up to the Yah for that. So that's why I laugh, too, because it's a beautiful thing when, you know, it's leading to a person to receive life and not destruction. So that's something that we can rejoice over, you know. But Woe to those that don't take heed and listen, and the chastisement becomes more upon on top, 7 times more upon 7 times more until you destroy it. Woe unto a person that have a fat heart that refuse to circumcise his heart. That's something that you have to do. You know what I mean? You have to make a choice to circumcise your heart. You have to make a choice to say, okay, I choose to listen. I choose to abide. I choose to obey. You get what I'm saying? That's your choice. You have to choose to ask and pray. You have to choose to supplicate. These are choices that you have to make. A lot of people feel like he just magically poof and he do it. No, you got to do it. From the beginning, there's always been, I said before you today, life and death. Therefore, I advise you to choose life. Something you have to do. Can't be waiting on people and trying to get from people. No, you got to get that for yourself. You have to study to show yourself approved, man. You got to get it. I say this because whoever's listening may need to hear this, and that's just real,
Yeah. Tell them out.
Yeah, that's just real. It's a reason why things be said. Now, to the person that don't apply to, it's not for you, okay? But it's for somebody else that needs this. And the Ruach knows who needs what. And the Ruach will minister to each individual to where he has need at, period. That's how the Ruach move. We as vessels may not even fully know why we saying what we saying. But you know who do know? The Ruach Yahweh know. And that person on the other end who's receiving it be like, oh, I needed that. They know too, because it's a confirmation to them. So that's what it's for. So all esteem to Yahweh for that, man. Let the Ruach have his way. Let him use you, Let him use you.
Let him use you, baby.
Good talk.
Well, we at 13. No, 14. But if ye will not, time to listen. Jacob's trouble.
Here it come.
Trouble is promised.
There it go.
But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant. Listen, Jacob's trouble is not without reason.
I'm telling you.
The destruction of our nation, the slave trade, the Inquisition, which you are shortly about to find out about how horrible it was and what our people went through, because you need to understand that this stuff you waiting on, this stuff didn't happen. The next destruction we'll see as a nation gonna be to those that won't listen, just like our ancestors did. And that's why they went through destruction. Right? It's gonna come back again. Those that won't heed.
Right.
Because one will be taken, one will be left. The taking is death, destruction.
Right.
It's coming.
That's right,
I will also do this unto you.
Who would do it though, real quick? Who doing it?
Him. He said,
I. He said, I. Right. Yeah. That's right.
I will also do this unto you. I will appoint over you terror, consumption. Let's pull up consumption for the people one time.
Right. He said he appointed that over you. That's it's an appointment. He appointed that over you. Look, I appointed this terror over you. Even the nation, so-called white man, I appointed them over you.
Definition of consumption. Hold on. Let me show it to the people so they can see it real quick. Stop the sharing. Stop the sharing. Let's do the sharing. Let's do the definition. Wikipedia consumption. All right, let's get it. Can you see that up? Let's make it big enough. Consumption. Consumption. All right. The using up of a resource, a wasting disease, especially pulmonary tuberculosis. I think I heard about pulmonary on these commercials and stuff,
Mm.
disorders and stuff. Are you experiencing pulmonary something? Yes, it is, Negro. Tuberculosis, wasting disease, emaciation. Let's check them synonyms out. What is emaciation? Sounds kind of like Mashiach almost. Anyway, the state of being abnormally thin or weak. Yeah, famine. Gonna famine you out.
Wasting disease.
Let's get back to it. Location window, blue stacks. Get back on it. All right. What was we at?
Consumption.
I will appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning egg. We got to look that thing up too, man. What is that, man? We want you to have a full understanding on this podcast.
So it says malaria or some other illness involving fever and shivering.
All right. Oh, yeah. Got that. All right. Why ain't it showing what it's supposed to show? Is it showing nothing? Okay.
Yeah,
all right. The burning egg that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. A lot of black people suffer from glaucoma too.
People that had HIV or AIDS had they get cold and get chills, right, and shiver, and also they go blind too.
Yeah, and cause sorrow of heart. We got high blood pressure, and all that heart conditions, and
sadness of heart,
high cholesterol, all that old stuff. And ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you. And if you will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sin. Notice how he's giving you opportunity to do different. But he's saying, but if this don't work, and if this don't work, and if this don't work. You see how the Most High just is being patient? Now, granted, he giving you some discipline in his patience.
Right.
But he's not utterly destroying you at the same time.
Come on, Op. That's right.
He says, hey, you better be happy I ain't like humans. I don't change my word. Better be lucky I don't change up like y'all. That's why you're not consumed. And I will break the pride of your power. Because we used to be world powers. When King David reigned, when Solomon reigned, when the twin nations reigned, we was world powers. They thought about us. Other nations thought about us before they moved. They had to consider us. Don't nobody consider us no more. He done broke our pride. And I will make your heaven as iron. Just Shemayim, but I don't know if that's the same context. I think he's talking about
no rain.
It's like
no rain in the earth. No. Since it don't receive no rain, it's just barren. It's hard. The yield is hard. The ground is hard. It don't bring forth no yield or nothing like that. No rain. It's just heavy, hard. It's no rain. It's just dry. It's
and spiritually. Look, hold on, because we didn't read that. And your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of land yield their fruit. This could also be your work and your toiling in ministry or in Christianity or in Islam or in whatever things that's not of the Most High.
Yeah, that shall not yield no food either.
You can work and have abundance in something, perceived abundance, but the end thereof is going to be nothing. That's just another way to peep that, but also in land and all that, because the people were in famine at a point in time, and the land would not produce for them. They tried, but it didn't come, and the rains didn't come. Those rain he promised, if you did right, he held them things back when they was doing wrong. That's why the land wouldn't increase the fruit.
Right.
Up the land.
Right.
And if you walk contrary unto me and will not hearken unto me, you see all this if, that means it's on you.
Right.
He got gifts if you qualify for them, and he got destruction if you qualify for it.
Right.
It's up to you. What you want to do. That's what you want to do.
Ball in your court, Jack.
Yeah. Ball in your court.
And
if you walk contrary unto me and will not hearken unto me, I will bring 7 times more plagues upon you according to your sin. I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children and destroy your cattle, and make you few in number, and your highways shall be desolate. Now, this is the other nations as well as actual beasts, because we see where a prophet was able to call lions upon, some hard-headed children, wild children who was out there being, mischievous and trying to mock a prophet.
Right. Bald head, you bald head.
Down on them. That's a curse. Them children were in qualification of a curse because their parents didn't bring them up right, didn't teach them right, and they had wicked children taken out after wickedness, and the parents got robbed of their children.
Come on now.
By beasts of the earth.
That's right. Come on with it.
And if you will not be reformed by me by these things, but will walk contrary unto me, he's still giving you opportunity. He's saying, listen, after I didn't kill your children, kill your cattle, left you few in number, your highways is desolate because y'all scared to come outside.
Because the lion is out there.
You still won't be reformed to me. If you still won't change after that, which is the same thing. People say, I don't know how they ain't changed. Man, you going through the same things right now. Most High punishing you in all these ways. You in prison, you in the county jails, lights be off, in and out of bad relationships, got all kind of drama going on in your life that you are not being reformed by. He reformed me. He said,
me too. I second the motion. Yeah.
I'm a believer. Ain't that a song? I'm a believer.
I'm a believer. Yeah, you better believe it. You better believe. I believe. Hey, after all that's done, you must be one of them. I believe. Your action screaming out. I believe.
Absolutely. There'll be no doubt in it.
For real.
That's when you're going to get like Eve when it said, not only should we not eat it, we shouldn't even touch it. You ain't going to even want to touch wickedness at that point. When you really believe, you're going to be like Kafer. No, I ain't going to that man's house. What do you mean? Never have I been.
Right.
Never have I been.
Right.
Yeah, you go to like them. No. You see how Kafer said, listen, after he crossed Hamashiach, he was like, nah, I ain't going. Rise up, eat, kill and eat. No, I'm believing.
Right.
You know what you're supposed to be doing. All right. 24. Then will I also walk contrary unto you and will punish you yet 7 times your sin. And I will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant.
Listen to that. Shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. Come on now.
And when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send the pestilence. Listen, man. We just read, man, in Josephus, where the Most High waited till they assembled themselves together.
Hey, what did he wait for them to do? What did they do? What was they coming to do?
They came up for a feast day. And look, it was the feast day. It wasn't just any feast day. It wasn't Purim, where you might come and might not. It was one of the appointed, one of the 3 times a year where all males must appear before him.
Ooh, wee.
People don't even know that's when Jerusalem fell.
What you say? And I'm saying like Elder Yahweh died now. Ooh, wait, what you say?
Everybody had to be there. They felt compelled to go. Listen, they got bid into a feast of destruction.
Wow, bro. They got invited to the feast, and it was destruction for them because it came up on them unaware.
Just like Jehu.
Mm-hmm.
Jehu.
Yeah, invited
Jehu, man. Mm-hmm. Like he told them all, listen, who want to serve Baal? Come to this gathering for Baal. And everybody that came to worship Baal, they locked the doors on them and killed them.
Oh, wait. Come on, man. That's what happened.
Did. When everybody got into the land for the feast, they surrounded Jerusalem and wouldn't let nobody out.
Now, let me say this. Not the Romans. That's what Yah did, using the Romans to do that. See, people probably don't. What are they talking about? What are they talking about? We're going to show y'all what we're talking about here in a few. You're going to see it. Just hold tight. Hold your horse.
Tight. We got you. Got you. We got some in the clip. I will send a pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. That is exactly what happened, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nobody playing. Listen, man. All praise to the Most High, y'all.
Hallelujah.
We got these. The Ark read this separate from when I found what I found in Josephus. Like it was like a good half an hour in between the two. And it's really coming to pass right here as we reading it to you that we putting it together. This is exactly what the Most High did.
Exactly.
When Jerusalem fell, man, all praises, man.
Hallelujah. See, that's the joy that I'm talking about, Brandon. You hear me out? When it stuff come together and you see it, it's like, oh, hallelujah, it brings joy. Like all this thing is true because it's real. It's real.
Hallelujah.
Straight up. Let's get it.
And when I have broken the staff of your bread. Now, in Ezekiel, it also talks about how we be among the nations eating defiled bread. And there is a famine in the land, a famine of righteousness. We also read that somewhere else. Wasn't that in was that in Josephus or was that in Josephus?
We was talking about, I think we was talking about
a land would ask another land, has any righteousness that makes a man righteous come through your land? And the land's gonna be like, nope. No, ain't no righteousness came through here. But anyway, we continue. 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied. Ezekiel talks about this too. You shall eat and drink, but still be hungry and still be thirsty. And if ye will not for all this hearken to me, still if ye shall not hearken unto me, but will walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury. And I, even I, will chastise you 7 times for your sin. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons. We're going to talk about this too. This has happened. And the flesh of your daughters shall you eat. And I will destroy your high places and cut down your images and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols. And my soul shall abhor you. It's like you abhorred his laws.
He's going to abhor you. That's right.
That's why a Christian have to be real careful talking about the law is done away with. And when people try to come and tell you about observing it and you mock them and call them crazy and wicked and all this, that qualifies you as abhorring the commandments and the statutes of the Most High. So that means you qualify for all these curses he's going to talk about.
Right. And we read also in Proverbs says, them that turn even their ear from hearing the Torah, the law, even their prayer, their supplication is an abomination because they're bored.
Yeah.
It coincides with all this.
Say your
See the
prayer is
connection.
an abomination. That means
Right.
he's offended by the fact that you trying to pray to him.
And you don't even want to listen. You asking him for something, but you ain't listening. Have you ever heard a parent say, oh, you want to ask me for some money, but you don't do nothing I tell you? No, I ain't giving you nothing. You don't want to do nothing I tell you to do, yet you want to come out with your hands out. Boy, bye. A girl, bye. Yeah, try that. That's how real it is, y'all. Y'all come on now. This ain't no play and lollygolly and fairy tale, pixie sticks, cotton candy. You think everything's sweet. Listen, don't get on y'all's bad side. Let me tell you, because it ain't sweet. Y'all's a consuming fire. You will get burnt to a crisp. Don't play. Obey. That's in your best interest. Obey so it can be well with you. You hear me? If you obey, it will be well with you. If you don't, woe unto you. That's all it is to it. Come on. As obedient children, start listening and obeying. If you don't even know about what should I do? What should I do? There's plenty of ways that be available. You start seeking Yah. Cry out. Father, show me. There's many people that's coming over there to show you the way. I got to speak this. Look. I'm just being obedient and sharing this. I want you to know how real it is. Even for those that claim that know that they're Hebrews, I know that they're Yashar, that doesn't qualify you for the Barakah because you know who you are. No, what qualifies you is the doing of the word.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not you knowing who you are according to the flesh.
That ain't gonna do it.
Flesh and blood won't even enter into the kingdom. But root will. So you got that Ruach has to connect with your Ruach. You have to be obedient. And then once you start doing that and start walking accordingly, you're qualified. Other than that, it ain't. You can hear all day long. It ain't the hearers of the word that are justified or Baruch. It's the doers. Action is required. Start doing. If you know you ain't lining up and you half-harden this thing, and you, come on, it's time to step it up. Step it up. Keep going. Even with the little light you got, hold fast to that, man, and keep it pushing. And stay loyal with the little truth you got. But keep pushing and keep seeking diligently, because when you do that, Yah will reward you. He said he's a rewarder for them that diligently seek him. So when you're seeking him, you're seeking his ways, his laws, his instructions, the way he wants things to be done, his interpretations of his words, doing it the way he said do it. Then when you do it and you apply that he say, now you're doing it according to Yah's righteousness. Yahweh Sadachanu. Yahweh is our righteousness. Yah is our righteousness. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to digress on that. We're going to continue to read. Go ahead, unless you got something else to say.
You did that.
That's what
You did that. Contrary, also inferior. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters ye shall eat. Hold on, I think I gotta start better. If 27, and if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury, and I will chastise you 7 times for your sin. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters ye shall eat, and I will destroy your high places and cut down your images. These are the ways in which they, worship
The other ones,
other deities in high places and with graven images, right?
Mm-hmm.
And cast your carcasses upon carcasses of the idols, and my soul shall abhor you. This is also what happened at the fall of Jerusalem, right? Because they had a king over them that was, wicked, and they was doing all kind of abominations in the temples, and they got killed in the temples. They was everywhere. They was laid out everywhere in the streets.
Right.
Most High was not lying about what he said.
Right.
And all this happened. And I will make your cities waste and bring your sanctuaries into desolation. And I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors. And I will bring the land into desolation.
Mm-hmm.
That means let's look up desolation, because some people think for some reason heathens could be living in the land that he said was going to be desolate. Let's find out exactly what desolate means. Let's just look into it. Hold on. Because I think they might think it's some kind of dessert or something.
So you think it's some kind of dessert?
Yeah, it's not a dessert.
Destruction.
Desolate of a place, deserted of people, and in a state of bleak and dismal emptiness, barren, bleak, stark, bare, dismal, grim, desert, waste, arid, sterile, wild, windswept, inhospitable, exposed, deserted, uninhabited, unoccupied,
By the people.
unpopulated, forsaken, God forsaken, abandoned, unpeopled, unintended, evacuated, empty, vacated, vacant, unfrequented, unvisited, solitary, lonely, secluded, isolated, remote.
Now, mind
Antony,
you,
meaning the opposite, is
right.
fertile and populous.
Now, mind you, just for clarity, that it was going to be desolate of the people. And remember, in another way, I believe in Ezekiel, where it speaks about because the land shall rest and enjoy his Sabbaths, because the people being desolate of the land, and not being desolate and not being in the land, so it's going to be able to enjoy its Sabbaths. Now, when we read in that same verse on that same line, it says, "And the people, the other people, the nations that inhabit that land will be in awe." Like, go back to the verse. See this real quick. Line upon line.
Let's check that out. Cause I don't recall where it spoke of any long term living on the land other than the people that it was meant for. I could be wrong.
So I said, let's go back to the verse. Pull back up. Yeah. Spoke a little too quick.
I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it.
So they dwelling therein. The enemies are dwelling in the land. This coincides with, and Jerusalem shall be trampled down by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So
Trodden down,
right.
And
so
it was trodden down because it was destroyed completely.
Right. What I'm saying is that these people, the enemy is still dwelling there. They still dwell there as if it's theirs. They made it possess. Because it says Edom made it. They took it upon themselves as making it their own possession. That's also in prophecy. We'll bring that out too in another day, y'all willing, so that it can be clarity on that, so there won't be no discrepancies about.
But how could it enjoy her Sabbaths if it's replaced by a people that's involving themselves in all kind of wickedness? So what I'm saying, like, it don't make no sense to get the birthright out of it.
Let me share this with you. Why don't the heathen follow under the same punishment that the people do?
Well, because they aren't under the law. But at the same time, Jerusalem in itself, now forget about the other provinces and all that. I'm talking about Jerusalem in itself. This is the place where the Most High put his name to dwell. This is where he put his temple to dwell. This is his, it's his city for real. Just like we his namesake of all the nations, Jerusalem is his namesake of all the places on the earth. So you mean tell me Jerusalem is being inhabited by heathens?
Yep, that's what I'm here to tell you.
No, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one.
That's fine. Let's keep it pushing.
Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbaths, as long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemy's land,
Hold on, wait a
even
minute.
shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbaths.
Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbaths as long as it lie desolate, and ye, you, the people, be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbaths. Before that, above that, and on that line, it was saying that the land shall, it says, and I will scatter you, it says, then shall the land enjoy Sabbaths as long as it lie desolate, and you be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and enjoy Sabbaths. But I was trying to go to the point where it was saying, 2032 says, and I will bring the land to a desolation. But we're gonna continue to move forward. I'm just saying, and I will
That's
bring
why
the
I
land.
went to the definition of desolate. Like,
Yeah, but
there's
it's desolate. It's desolate of the people. It's not just talking about any people. It's desolate of the people.
desolation also said uninhabitable,
Of the
meaning,
people.
and to be a desert, that means it's not fruitful. It's not a good place to live, to dwell at.
Okay.
All of those definitions and the synonyms and all that, that's what it added up to. That it's not going to even be a place to inhabit. And I'm sure that took a period of time to happen. So until that happened, maybe the heathens did dwell in the land and all that. Maybe they did, but to the point to where it got to the point to where it was completely desolate, then they couldn't, because there is a record of places that was once green and fruitful and all that turned into complete deserts. We can pull that up. We can go into that as well. So when I heard about that story, it leaves room that the very same thing could have happened to Jerusalem, in my opinion.
Right.
But opinions, everybody's got one. So
yeah.
But let's continue. 35. As long as it lieth desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbaths when ye dwelt upon it. So is that implying that it's going to rest with the heathen in it?
Without the people, it's the people. The people was given the covenant.
Right.
The heathen, that part right there is a punishment. It's supposed to provoke people to jealousy. It's a whole program in and of itself of what's being done here, and the reason why stuff happening. Like one of the punishments was how the heathen become strangers get in higher positions and we get lower and lower. Like all these things was to spark something in the people for them to consider. Like, why is this happening? What's going on? What do I need to do to get from under this? You know what I mean? So all this stuff was being done on purpose. I'm just saying we can continue to read this. Let's continue. We'll share more about this afterwards. You and I, Ty.
And upon them that are left alive of you, I will send a faintness into their hearts in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of a shaken leaf shall chase them, and they shall flee as fleeing from a sword, and they shall fall when none pursue it, and they shall fall one upon another as it were before a sword, when none pursue it. And ye shall have no power to stand before your enemies, and ye shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' land, and also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them. If they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers with their trespass, which they trespassed against me, and that also they have walked contrary to me, and that I also walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies. If then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled, and they then accept of the punishment of their iniquity. But see, this is a punishment.
Right.
Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, Jacob. See, this is so. If he's been punishing Jacob, then the punishment of Jacob would be a trouble. It would
trouble.
Be
Jacob's trouble.
Jacob's trouble.
You're right, absolutely.
And also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. The land also shall be left of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbaths while she lieth desolate without them. and they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquity, because even because they despise my judgments, and because their soul abhorred my statutes. And yet, for all that, when they be in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. For I am Yah their Ala'i, and I will, for their sakes, remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt, and in the sight of the heathen, that I might be their mighty one. I am Yah.
Okay.
These are the statutes and judgments and laws which Yah made between him and the children of Yasharal in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moshe.
Okay, let me share some also real quick too. This is the thing too, I think, which also may cause confusion at times, depending on how things is used, how we use certain words, and we find the definition of a Hebrewic mindset and a Hebrewic word, and look for the American definition thereof. Like, say for instance, the word desolate. That word desolate there, that's written in the Hebrew, is shamam, right? And that shamam could mean appalled. Now, look up the word appalled and see what the definition of that word is, and see what's depicted in the definition of the word appalled. And that's APPALLED.
So what? Oh, you want me to do that now?
Yeah, look it up on the thing, because I want to put it up on the thing. And also, we have time, we can put it up in a interlinear and look at the word that was used for the word that they translated desolation in the Hebrew, and find the Hebrew word for that word, and find out the definition of that Hebrew word that's put in that place, to find the full definition, intent of what's the idea to be conveyed of that right there.
All right. Definition of appalled: greatly dismayed or horrified.
Okay, appalled, greatly dismayed or horrified. So the land will be greatly dismayed and horrified. Dismayed. What's dismayed? Look up the word dismayed. See, it's a continuum of defining, these words, and that's why I like etymology on it.
Consternation and distress, typically that caused by something unexpected, to cause someone to feel consternation and distress.
Distress. So the land was desolate. Paul, the people. It says the nation. It says what did it say? The enemy. What did it say? What was that? Leviticus 26:34. What did it say? Let me go to it right quick. 26:34. How did it say it? Then shall the land make up for a Sabbath throughout the time that it is desolate, and you are in the land of your enemies. It is appalled or desolate. What? Desolation, and your cities are ruined. The word is shamam. Let's see that right there. Desolate throughout the land. That's 35. $26.34. Hashema. Wow. Hashema. Shema.
Okay, when you get done with that, we're gonna talk about the famine.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Doc. I just wanted to bring out that to be desolate or appalled. So, I'm just saying, that's all. We was moving forward from that thing anyway. We'll bring that out another day, y'all willing, man. So, people can be edified on that. But about the famine, what were you saying?
Gonna go in and talk about Josephus, the book of Josephus. Josephus was a
historian.
He was like a general in like an army or something at first, because he was leading a group of men, and he ended up getting caught up by the Romans, and because he was a high esteem or whatever, they tried to use him to get the people of Rome to give in, and he tried to talk to them about it. They didn't want to hear it. But let's talk about the eating of children, because one of the prophecies the Most High put out there was about uh, Rome. I mean, about the bruised eating their children, parents eating their children, all of Jerusalem. Cannibal lady feeds on her children. 1 second. I can't find where I did that at, man.
You pulled up that book where you don't remember what you pulled up for us to see it? But yeah, bring it back to your remembrance. Cannibal lady feeds on baby's flesh. Is that what part of your feed? We read that too, didn't we? In the famine, when she ate half of a baby, and the men came and was like, "What's this older? Show us." And she showed
I
me.
know. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to pull up here. I'm gonna get it. It's coming. Just give me a quick second. If not find to see if his parents eating their children. Talks about the eating of children at the siege, follow the rules, and cannibal lady feeds on baby's flesh. All right, Big boy, get out of here. Get out. Go. Go. Get in your bed now. Oh, it's been removed out of my histories. Oh man. All right. Well, let's talk about the famine of Jerusalem real quick then. Google search. This is the book of the Jews. This is chapter 3. Concerning a stratagem that was devised by the Jews, by which they burnt many of the Romans, with another description. Oh, that's not what okay. With another description of the terrible famine that was in the city. Hold on. That ain't where I want to start it. Okay, here we go. This the woman here. Yeah, here we got it. We got it. There was a certain woman that dwelt beyond Jordan. Her name was Mary. Her father was Eleazar of the village Bethesda, which signifies the house of Hizah. She was eminent for her family and her wealth, and had fled away to Jerusalem with the rest of the multitude, and was with them besieged therein at this time. The other effects of this woman had been already seized upon. Such I mean as she had brought with her out of Perea and removed to the city. She had treasured up besides, as also what food she had contrived to save, had been also carried off by the rapacious guards, who came every day running into her house for that purpose. So these guards, she had food stored up, but these guards kept running up in her house and taking her food every day. They come take her food. This put the poor woman into a very great passion, and by the frequent reproaches and imprecations she eased at these rapacious villains, she had provoked them to anger against her, but none of them, either out of the indignation she had raised against herself or out of the commiseration of her case, would take away her life. And if she found any food, she perceived her labors were for others and not for herself. And it was now become impossible for her any way to find any more food, while the famine pierced through her very bowels and marrow, when also her passion was fired to a degree beyond the famine itself, nor did she consult with anything, but with her passion and the necessity she was in. She then attempted a most unnatural thing and snatched up her son, who was a child, sucking at her breast. She said, O thou miserable infant, for whom shall I preserve thee in this war, this famine, and this sedition? As to the war with the Romans, if they preserve our lives, we must be slaves. This famine also will destroy us, even before that slavery come upon us. Yet are these seditious rogues more terrible than both the other. So she started kind of going crazy almost. I mean, well, pretty much, yeah. She went completely crazy. And she was feeling like, regardless of what I do, like I'm trying to find food, I can't find food. You know, these people, they gonna kill me, they gonna kill my baby, or at least we going into slavery. So she's like, ain't no point in living. So instead of killing both of them, she decided to do something else. Come on, be thou my food. She's talking to her child.
Right.
Come on, be thou my food, and be thou a fury to these seditious varlets, and a byword to the world, which is all that is now wanting to complete the calamities of us Yahudim or Jews. As soon as she had said this, she slew her son and then roasted him and eat the one half of him and kept the other half by her concealed. Upon this, the seditious came and presently, and smelling the horrid scent of this food, the guards came in, and smelling the horrid scent of this food, they threatened her that they would cut her throat immediately if she did not show them what food she had gotten ready. She replied that she had saved a very fine portion of it for them, and withal uncovered what was left of her son. Hereupon they seized with a horror and amazement of mind and stood astonished at the sight. When she said to them, this mine own son, and what you pretend to be other more tender than a woman? No, do you not pretend to be either more tender than a woman or more compassionate than the mother? She telling them, don't be scared now.
Act
like a woman.
Act as if you more tender than a woman or compassionate as a mother. Don't act like that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now you've been starving me out all this time. I've been starving. You've been taking my food. So here, have some food. I got some food for you. Not to say she was right by doing this by any means of the word. Please do not get it confused. I'm just showing the reasoning of the text. And
however, it is fulfillment. It is fulfillment of what was spoken of in the scriptures in the Torah.
Yes, that's why we're bringing it out to show you that this has happened
already, and
it happened during the time of the fall of Jerusalem, which is the whole thing about Jacob's trouble. This is the beginnings of it, of the, you know, because you have to understand, people had to pay for what they did to Hamashiach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he brought a different kind of a covenant with him, and people went against that when they slew him. So they had to pay. They had to pay for that.
Oh yeah. I said, oh yeah.
This is the, you know, this stuff was really nothing compared to everything else that had to transpire. They weren't really tortured here. True enough, they starved, they got slaughtered, they had the pestilence, right? But when you read about what the Romans did, what the Catholic Church did to them, and them torture racks and all that, and, you know, homosexuality and doing stuff to the women and to the man, look, greater things than these they saw. Please believe.
And another thing we want to share with y'all too is in Mitiyahu 24, when the Talmudim, the disciples, when they came out and they was telling Mashiach, sharing Mashiach, look at this temple, look how beautiful it is, and Mashiach had to tell him, look, I'm gonna tell you, look, it's not one. This thing is gonna be. I'm paraphrasing, y'all. This thing is gonna be destroyed. Not one stone is gonna be left on each other. And then he went to go sit up on the Mount of Olives. Go read it. Go study it. Then the Talmudim, go to it.
We can take him to him.
Okay, cool. He was sitting on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately and asked him, "Tell us about these things." And he started explaining to them about it. Some people take that and thinking that he's talking about a future reference outside of what was going on in Jerusalem in that time frame. They thinking it's talking about what's to come now while we in America. No, what's to come now while we in America is us. It's gonna be a time where we're gonna be brought back home.
It's a return, yeah.
Return, yeah. Let's not get it twisted. That's that Christian mindset. That's the stuff we talking about getting rid of. So Matthew 24, right? There you go. You can read it from 1.
And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, "See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left there one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?"
Now, hold on, pause real quick. This is talking all about that world in Jerusalem and what was going on there in that world and that age and all that stuff that had to consist of them being in the land there. That's what it's talking about. It's not talking about this time over here while we over here in these lands of captivity in the enemy's land. It's not talking about this time. It's talking about their time. It's talking about their time and after. And while Jerusalem was up and running, how it was running with our people being there and the temple being ran, how it was ran. That's what it's talking about in context. Go ahead, Doc.
And Yahushua answered and said unto them, "Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach," or the Messiah,
right? And
shall deceive many.
Right, real quick, before you go on to 6, I want to elaborate. In those times, when you know the history about what was going on in Jerusalem at that time, there was many people arising as if they was the anointed one to bring them deliverance from the Roman oppression. So it was people arising as if they was the anointed one, as if they was the Mashiach that was going to lead a rebellion or revolt against the Romans to return the kingdom back to Yasha'al. And they was over there.
NFAC.
Yeah, like the NFAC, right? As if they was the deliverer. So they was deceiving people. As it was already set. The vengeance of the covenant had to come about. So could nobody come along and bring forth something other than what the scriptures has already said? So they was deceiving people, claiming that they was a Messiah figure that was going to bring forth deliverance for the nation. But no, and that's why it was a lot. If you know about the history of what was going on in Jerusalem around 70 AD, they was fighting amongst each other. Different sects and stuff was fighting and banging each other. There was wars and rumors of wars going on, like Mashiach said. So, and then, like I said, like he came as a thief in the night, caught him unawares and caught him with the pain, like caught him slipping, got him. It had to. It had to be. It had to bring for the word could not return to him void. It had to do according to what the word was written and spoken. So that's what I want to bring to you, because the Christians will tell you something different, as if it's something yet to come. You know,
that's the basis for the whole thing, is that we want to show you that Jacob's been troubled. You know, you waiting on some antichrist man to come to bring forth all of this destruction. We've been destroyed. Like, well, at best, he can only do what's been done already. You know what I'm saying? Like, the things that has happened to us as a people has never been done before in the earth. So he's already, Hasatan's control of the nations and the minds and the hearts of the people is what's produced these abominations to be done to us. But it's by the fulfillment of prophecy that the Most High promised that he bring. That's why we took you and read you Leviticus, and we showing you this to show that Hamashiach was in line with everything Abba said in Leviticus. He's not changing nothing. He's letting you know that this same course, this same destruction is imminent and it's coming. And it started with the fall of Jerusalem, man.
Right. Now, mind you, here go another thing to get you aware. You can go back and read it for yourselves too, how Mashiach, when he went and he wept, and he said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, he said, you who kill your prophets and stone those sent to you, how I wanted to gather you like a hen does its chicks and protect you, but you would not. So now your house is what? Left unto you desolate. You see what I'm saying? So he's seen afar off what was going to happen to him. That's why he wept. Because he came to save. He came to give them some words so they can have emunah and trust it in the move, but they wouldn't. He wanted to save them and gather in, but they would not. That's what's being said. So I want y'all to see that, man. This ain't no stuff that's yet to come. The next thing that's gonna happen is us being delivered from this place, man. It's an order, man. It's all there. See, but see, people have a zeal for Yah, but not according to knowledge. And they don't know this. They don't know this. A lot of people don't know the script. They know partial, but they don't know it full. They speak on things they know not, and they repeat stuff that they didn't heard from other people instead of doing due diligence of it and things like that. But we're not that type of cloth. We cut from a different cloth because we seeking Yah, we seeking Abba, and we seeking his interpretations of the script, of his script. Who better to give you understanding than the author himself? And you can receive that if you diligently seek him for that. He'll give it to you. You have not because you ask not, right? So let's keep all this stuff in mind, family, for real. Like this is a help. This is still the kindness of Yah being extended to the people that they may be edified. This is still the kindness of Yah. So all esteem to Yahweh, for real. I just wanted to share that with y'all on that Mashiach was bringing that about for the people. To know that it was about the destruction of Jerusalem, and what was another one that he was want to bring out? When he was talking about okay, it's good. That's what it is, but it's good. Continue. Go ahead, man. I'm just
take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. We also that was somewhere else too. Baruch, was that in Baruch?
Ezra.
Not Ezra, yeah.
Yeah.
Second Ezra. All these are the beginnings of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, and the love of many shall wax cold, and he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. And this
Basura.
of the Malkuth shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come. See? The storyline about the fall of this people, which was evident about the fall of Jerusalem. We can show you where even Titus said, listen, man, I ain't had nothing to do with this. It took the Most High to bring these people down, to bring towers down, these walls.
Right. Now, this will further let you know that it's talking about, because he's speaking and he's letting it be known. Now, the next verse, it says, when ye therefore, at 15, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the Kadash place, whosoever readeth, let him comprehend, understand. Then let him which be in Judea flee into the mountain. It didn't say let him who was in America or in other places that they scattered. It said Judea, specific. Come on now. Pay attention, people. So it says, them that's in Judea, let them flee. So it's still in line about what he's talking about, the end times. End time of what? The end of that age of that of Jerusalem and the people being in their own land. That's what it's in there. So that right there should give you an insight on, if you don't believe me, seek Abba then. And if you can't, hey, that's all I can say is seek Abba. Then let them who
look.
Go ahead.
The reason why Christianity, that's why it's entitled Separating from Christianity, right? Because they want to include their narrative. They want to separate the book from the people. When you realize all of this is prophetic about a certain group of people, they want to hide our identity. They want to make our name be no longer in remembrance. So they got to try to create some kind of a narrative that replaces us. That's why they invented replacement theology. That our promises and our gifts would be put upon another. You know, for one thing, this is something that people understand. The heathen always had an opportunity to get in. The Father would take anybody who would seek after him, right? That's why there's a place for them in the temple, because he welcomes those that seek after him and who will do his will. That's never been up for debate.
Right.
The problem has been that the people he chose to give it to, they've been acting a damn fool. So much so that he had to divorce one of them. But he promised he would bring them back, because the other one acted just as wickedly. He said, well, I can't divorce both of them, so I gotta make this thing right. So he promised to make it right. And the bringing of Hamashiach was the culmination of all that. That's why he called himself the bridegroom. That's why he's the righteous branch that's gonna bring together the two sticks, because they've been separate all this time. It's all this, man. All this stuff go together, man. And Christianity won't tell you that. That's why the Christianity don't never talk about the 12 tribes. They don't ever talk about the two.
They're not. Listen, if you sitting here, wait, hold your breath, because you might as well kill yourself if that's the case. Because it's not. They're not going to tell you. Listen, let me tell you why. Now, listen to what I'm saying when I say stuff like this. They're not going to tell you because they're your enemy. Your enemy does not have your best interest at hand. So they're not going to tell you the truth. Mind you, Christianity is a offspring of the Catholics, of Catholicism, which is an enemy because it's pagan. It's paganistic rituals that they follow, paganistic practices they follow. The Pope with the Dagon hat and all that, and Sunday and different things, and sun worship and the Urical and all this other stuff. This is sun worship, fish worship, all this different stuff that they worship that's contrary to the ways of Yah. Anti-Mashiach. You're talking about Messiah. See, it's people. I was gonna say this too. People like just another teaching is people looking for a third temple to be built for the anti-Mashiach to come and dwell in the temple and proclaim himself to be Allah. That's already happened, and it's still happening. Jesus. Before it was G, it was Jesus, right? That is in the hearts and minds of the temple of the living Yah, which you are the temple of the living Yah. And they proclaim that Jesus is Allah. You know what I mean? That's what they say. Jesus is God. Do they not say that? Not only do they say he's the Son of God, and they say he's God. And he's in the hearts of these people. And it administer all sorts of wickedness and lawlessness. Right? You can do wrong and Lord forgive me. And then continue to do wrong and Lord forgive me. Do wrong. You ain't even got to have the mentality of really trying to change and do right. Just Lord forgive me. Jesus forgive me. He forgive me. He paid it all. He done it all. I ain't got to do nothing. You see that? I ain't got to do nothing. He did it all. He nailed it all to the cross, to the stake. We know a stake. He nailed it all to the cross. We ain't got to do those 10 commandments no more. We ain't got to do that. That's why all homosexuality is running wild and everything running wild because of lawlessness. The love of many have grown cold because of Torahlessness, because of lawlessness. They have no Torah. They don't follow instructions. They follow that man right there.
Cesare.
Caesar Borgia. They follow that homosexual, and it's in their heart. They can eat anything. The Most High said, look, they overpower the Most High Yah in their own thinking, blasphemous, by saying, oh, no, we can just pray and it's clean. Unclean is clean now. Food.
So look,
abominable thing. But yet in the prophecy, the Most High said he's going to destroy those that eat the mouse and every abominable thing and sanctify themselves in the grove and eating abominable food, eating swine's flesh. He's going to destroy them. Yet, they master tell them it's okay. You can just pray in the name of Jesus and it's all good. Deception.
Because they do all this mocking and they, appear to get away with it. They have said in their hearts there is no God.
Right.
Does not dwell with us.
So that's what it is. That you got to realize you got to put this stuff together and things like that, man. But you got to seek Yah to get that revelation. Yah will give you the revelation if you're really seeking for it, to know it. And the revelation is for you to walk accordingly. That's what it's all for. And then once you know it and you're able to share it with your brothers and sisters that's in that way that's off, in expectation that they'll change. Know the script, study to show yourself approved so you can be ready in season and out of season, that when somebody has asking you about why you believe what you believe, you're ready with an answer to give to them. And an expectation that you being a witness like you're supposed to be, a witness unto the Most High, it'll convert them. So yeah, we're gonna continue moving on that right there. But this is the thing, y'all. I want y'all to see that in verse 16 it says, "Then let them which be in Judea, meaning in Yahudah, in the land of Yahudah, flee unto the mountains." Let him
which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the fields return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. That woman that ate her baby was giving suck.
Mm-hmm.
And pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, which as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor even shall be. And except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. If the Most High wouldn't have intervened and made that wall fall down, everybody in Jerusalem would have starved to death. Because the Romans could not get into the temple or in the city even, right? Whatever wall it was.
The fort. Yeah, it was a fort.
The Romans could not get through that thing. That the Most High had to produce a miracle to make it fall just right to allow them to get in. So, had those days not been shortened, when nobody made it, not out the city, then if any man shall say unto you, here is Mashiach, or there, believe it not, for there shall arise false messiahs, Mashiachs, and false prophets, not be, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall give her light. I do believe this happened around the fall of Jerusalem too. There was a lot of signs happening around that time. I hope I can find the video, but they talk about that. And it shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in the Shemaim, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in clouds of Shemaim. You all right, man? Calm down. All right. The clouds of the Shemaim with power and great esteem, and he shall send his Malachim with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the Shemaim to the other. This is another thing about that 12. Well, about the 144. I thought he was coming with 144.
You thought he was coming with 100?
Didn't the thing say that he was coming with the 144,000?
It says it was 144,000 that was sealed that followed the Lamb wherever he go. I don't think it said he was coming with the 144, but it says that he, before they follow him wherever he go, follow the Lamb wherever he go. But this says he's coming with the clouds. It's a witness. It's a clouds of witnesses that he's coming with.
And he shall send his Malachim with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, and from one end of the Shemaim to the other. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When its branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Even Shemaim and their rot shall pass away, but my words shall not pass. See, this generation shall not pass away. Is he talking about all of those who are alive at that time?
Right, because he was talking, he was talking to his Talmudim. He was talking to his disciples at the time. And he said this generation will by no means pass away till all these things be fulfilled.
So if the heathen calendar is to be believed, then Hamashiach should have been about between 30 to 40 years old when he died. So that should have been what, AD 40 to AD 30?
He lost me on that one.
Or is his death the start of the AD calendar? The death or the birth? I mean, yeah.
Yes, I mean, with AD can with after death. Is that what it means? AD stand for after what? What did AD stand for?
I'm not 100% sure about that.
Somebody else might have the answer to that, man. They might be the expertise on that. I know.
Well, anyway,
Right.
let's get into the tribulation. We're talking about Jacob's trouble and all this. Let's talk about the Spanish Inquisition, which a lot of people don't know is about our people. So shout out to Benaya Ben Israel that put this video together. We're going to check it out. And he went in and talked about how, you know, the Catholic Church, Rome and all this, the Pope and all this, implemented all these orders to destroy the children of Yasharal by having them convert to Christianity and Catholicism or be killed and tortured and enslaved. So let's see, can you see that?
Yeah, translating slave trade inquisition.
Let's get into it.
The Red Dragon issued orders in the form of papal bulls and edicts. His orders started the conquest of the New World. It started the Inquisition, and it also started the transatlantic slave trade. Each of these three events alone was responsible for the killing of thousands or millions of people. Let's take a closer look at our timeline. We previously reviewed the papal bull Dum Diversus, which was issued June 18th, 1452. We also reviewed the papal bull Romanus Pontifex, which was issued January 5th, 1455. Both of these papal bulls authorized the conquest of the New World, along with authorizing slavery, as well as the establishment and spreading of churches around the world. And around this time is when Portugal began taking captives off the northwest coast of Africa. Let's read the following reference.
What's your big nosy self coming over here looking for?
Page 339. Abravanel was not the only Jewish favorite at Alfonso's court. Two brothers, Ibn Yachya Negro, also frequented the court of Lisbon. They were sons of a certain Don David, who had recommended them not to invest their rich inheritance in real estate. He saw that banishment was in store for the Portuguese Jews. As long as Isaac Abravanel enjoyed the king's favor, he was as a shield and a wall for his race, and delivered the sufferers from their oppressors, healed differences, and kept fierce lions at bay, as described by his poetical son, Judah Leon. He who had a warm heart for all afflicted was father to the orphan and counselor to the sorrowing, felt yet deeper compassion for the unfortunate of his own people. When Alfonso conquered the port of Arizilla in Africa, the victors brought with them, among many thousand captives, Moors, 250 Jews, who were sold as slaves throughout the kingdom. That the Jews and Jewesses should be doomed to the miseries of slavery was unendurable to Abravanel's heart. At his summons, a committee of 12 representatives of the Lisbon community formed and collected funds. Then, with a colleague, he traveled over the whole country and redeemed the Jewish slaves, often at a high price. The ransomed Jews and Jewesses, adults and children, were clothed, lodged, and maintained until they had learned the language of the country and were able to support themselves. Abravanel's story was one of the few glimmers of hope for the children of Judah during this time. However, as hard as Abravanel tried to fight the Red Dragon's persecution, in the end, he was destined to lose. The Red Dragon issued his orders to conquer the world, enslave its inhabitants, spread his churches, and persecute those who attempted to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High Yah. This point in time marks a critical period for the children of Judah. This is where we find the birth of the Christian slave. To create its Christian slave, the Red Dragon needed to separate the children of Judah from their parents. In 1492, Spain commanded all its Jews to get out. The Jews were commanded to leave the kingdom of Spain. In fact, Spain gave Judah three choices: leave Spain, convert to Roman Christianity, or to be put to death. The following reference reads, and it reads, "In the meantime, Ferdinand had made great slaughter of the Moors, and at last entirely subdued them in the kingdom of Granada. Having reduced the city of Granada itself into his power, and therefore to purge their kingdoms entirely of the Jewish superstition, Ferdinand and Isabel by a law drove the Jews out of Spain, to whom, however, after a long consultation of the wise men, was granted the space of 4 years, within which they were either to convert to the Catholic faith or sell their effects." And it reads, "When the time was elapsed, they who persisted in their religion were forced to depart with their wives, their children, servants, families, and effects, and forbid ever to return into Spain, where if they were ever found, they were to be immediately punished with death and confiscation of goods." Skipping ahead, the Jews thus driven from Spain fled for the most part into Portugal and obtained from King John, under certain conditions, that they might live there for a certain season. The conditions were chiefly these: that everyone should pay to the king 8 pieces of gold and leave Portugal within a limited time, and forfeit their liberty if they exceeded it, or in other words, if they stayed too long. So we see the Jews left the kingdom of Spain and fled into Portugal. And notice the size of the kingdom of Spain compared to the kingdom of Portugal. In other words, the Jews who lived in the Kingdom of Spain fled into the much smaller Kingdom of Portugal. This resulted in a high concentration of Spanish Jews in Portugal, as the following reference reads. The number of those who were thus banished from Spain were 400,000 Jews, according to Ruchelin and others. Mariana says, "'Tis not easy to reduce them to any certain number. Most writers affirm there were 170,000 families departed. Others say there were 800,000 persons, a prodigious number, almost exceeding belief. Some of them who were late in gathering together their effects and would not turn Christians were sold as slaves. And of those who left their country, Sarita tells us, many died of the fatigues of traveling or the plague." After the Jews fled from Spain to Portugal in 1492, roughly 1 year later in 1493, Portugal expelled its
to be honest with you,
Spanish-born Jews
I thought this was something
to
else.
West
I ain't gonna lie.
Africa. Years later, Portugal then expelled its
I thought
Portuguese
really describing what they was
Jews.
going through. Hold on.
1886.
Jerusalem.
But perceiving how many perished in the attempt, that they could better agree with that of the continent on the coast of Guinea, it was resolved by King John II also outlawed observance of any of the Most High's holy days and his laws, as the following reference reads, or who have celebrated the Passover of unleavened bread, beginning this sort of food with lettuce, parsley, or other green herbs, or have observed the Passover of tabernacles. In summary, the Roman Empire forbid following the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. It also persecuted those who attempted to follow any of the Most High's laws, as prophesied in Revelations 12, verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yah, and have the testimony of Yahshua HaMashiach. And now, let's take a quick look at the description of the Jews. Were they white or were they black?
They must have took him off of here.
You know, Benaiah got his own page. You on his page? And he might have it all on there.
Ain't this it?
Yeah, Benaiah Israel, that page right there. Let me see.
Yeah, that's the page I'm on. Huh? Video blocked in country. I want to get into the part where it talked about what they was going through in the
besiegement of Jerusalem.
in the Inquisition.
Oh.
In the sign we conquer. No, that's trash stuff.
When our forefathers Judah.
Oh, I know where it's probably at for real. It's probably in Patreon. He got his own Patreon channel. Go to Patreon real quick. Sorry about that, people. You can't get it. What's going on here? Now they talking about they done expired my damn password on Patreon. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The Hebrew Inquisition by Benaiah Yasharal. Oh, it's in the King John thing, I guess. All right, but anyway, here we go. We got something now.
Shalom, family. This is Benaiah Ben Israel, bringing you a presentation on Black history. We'll see it on the screen. And if you want to see if you can find these references yourself, feel free to pause. And folks like me that like to do research, when we go to these, it'll help clear that up. And as not of a pure cast, which plainly demonstrates that they do not spring from a common stock in India. And let me just scroll down here. I think there's one or two interesting lines out of this. All right. Yeah, we'll leave that one be for now. So, any of them were found there?
All right, here we go.
In the Son you shall conquer.
And this was the supposed vision of the Roman Emperor Constantine, also called Pontifex Maximus, which means high priest of the Christian church. And now let's pick up where we left off. And it reads, after mature deliberation of the affair, he commanded that all the Jews and Moors in Portugal who would not profess the Christian religion to depart the kingdom, and set them a day, after which, if any of them were found there, they should forfeit their liberty. The Moors immediately passed over into Africa, and as the Jews were preparing to depart, the king commanded that all their children who were not above 14 years old, that they should be taken from their parents and educated in the Christian religion. It was a most affecting thing to see children snatched from the embraces of their mothers and fathers embracing their children, violently torn from them, and even beat with clubs. To hear the dreadful cries they made, every place filled with the lamentations and yells of women. Many through indignation threw their sons into pits, and others killed them with their own hands. What added to their misery was that those who would have gone over to Africa to avoid these evils were not suffered, for the king deferred giving them liberty of sailing day after day. And although at first he assigned them 3 ports where they might go on board, he afterwards forbid them their sailing from any other but that of Lisbon. This brought a vast number of Jews to that city, but in the meanwhile, the appointed day was past, so that such of them as could not get off were necessarily made slaves. Most of them, being overcome with these calamities, chose rather, either sincerely or fiendly, to make profession to Christianity. Now, some of the rebellious house of Judah accepted Christianity in order to save their lives, their children, and their property. However, many didn't fully accept the religion headed by the Pope, headed by the one who calls himself the replacement of Christ, whose name equals 666, which is the number of Satan. Now, just so that we don't forget the physical description of these Jews, let's review the following references. The following reference speaks to the color of the Jews, and it reads, "And from these banished Jews, the black Portuguese, as they are called, and the Jews in Luanga." The next reference reads, "'Tis also a vulgar error that the Jews are all black, for this is only true of the Portuguese Jews, who marrying always among one another beget children like themselves." And lastly, the following reference reads, "Are Jews white like you?" "No," replied I, "rather more like yourself, very dark." Now these black, brown, swarthy, dark-skinned Jews chose secretly to practice their religion, as the following reference reads, and it reads, "But as these Jews did not profess the Catholic faith truly and heartily, but feigned and externally, they remained as much Jews as they were before, and so much the more dangerous, because concealed." Now let's take a closer look at the Inquisition to see how it affected the parents of the rebellious house of Judah, who were left behind in Europe. A long, long time ago, when the power of the Pope reigned supreme, the one who calls himself the replacement of Christ saw the religion of the rebellious house of Judah spreading throughout his dominion. And in order to put a stop to these commandment keepers, he created the Inquisition. following quote reads, King Emmanuel was succeeded by John III in 1521, who, observing that Judaism spread greatly in his time, that the Jews publicly professed their errors and taught them others, that his domestic servants, not only such as proceeded from them, but those who were ancient Christians, were infected with the poison of their doctrine, condemned the sacraments of the church, did not receive them in the article of death, treated with great irreverence holy images, and especially some of the Virgin Mother of God, the Lady of Angels. They are the words of Sosa. Considering these things in his mind, he desired of Pope Clement VII the holy tribunal of the Inquisition in his kingdom. And although this pope, for a long while, and oftentimes refused it, through the vigorous endeavors of the Jews who, to their utmost, opposed the royal petition, for the Jews always hated this holy tribunal, as others do to this day, for what reason they know best. Yet at length, with difficulty, he granted it in the form of law. January 16th, 1531.
Did you hear that?
What did he say?
The day he made the tribunal into law, this whole thing about the Inquisition, or about grabbing up our people and making them convert to Christianity, the day he made it law is January 16th. That's
So you said
MLK.
the
MLK
16th?
Day.
MLK, I thought MLK Day was the 18th.
I thought it was the 16th.
That's the 18th. His birthday is the 18th. If I'm not mistaken, let me say it like that. If I'm not mistaken, let me make sure though and confirm that. Because you got me thinking.
Historic days on January 16th.
Oh, his birthday is the 15th.
Hey, look, it say no, that's 20. No, on 27. The Roman Empire established in the year 27 on January 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Important events from this day in the history, January 16th. The space shuttle, 2003 Columbia did something. Corvette, Operation Desert Storm, Panama Canal, lends $20 million. USA grasshopper plague happened in 1958, January
16th.
Vietnam peace talks, 1969.
On the 16th?
Yeah, all of this happened January 16th. The Civil War in El Salvador ends 1992, January 16th. Anyway, because you know these heathens like to do stuff on certain numbers and dates and all that. So I just figured it might have something to do with other stuff that happened in the earth. The American Revolutionary War, Battle of Cape St. Vincent in 1780 on January 16th. 1786, Virginia enacts the Statute for Religious Freedom, authored by Thomas Jefferson. 1786, January 16th. 1809, Peninsula War. The British defeat the French in the Battle of La Coruna. 1920, the League of Nations holds its first council meeting in Paris. So this heathen been doing major little group stuff on January 16th. I just want to point that out. You know, we keep it moving.
Now, keep in mind that the Jews in Spain
Let's go
and
back.
Portugal,
Let's go back a little
and
bit
with
so you can
these
see.
things in his mind, he desired of Pope Clement VII, the holy tribunal of the Inquisition in his kingdom. And although this pope, for a long while, and oftentimes refused it, through the vigorous endeavors of the Jews who, to their utmost, opposed the royal petition, for the Jews always hated this holy tribunal, as others do to this day, for what reason they know best. Yet at length, with difficulty, he granted it in the form of law. January 16th, 1531. Now, keep in mind that the Jews in Spain and Portugal and within the Roman dominion were black, brown, swarthy, dark-skinned Jews. As the following quote reads, it reads, "He was of a middle size. He had good features in his face, the skin somewhat black, black curly hair, long eyebrows, and of the same color, so that one might easily know by his looks that he was descended from Portuguese Jews." All right. Now, the Inquisition was the Pope's police, judge, jury, and executioner, all rolled up into one institution. Their primary focus was to stamp out all remnants of the religion of the rebellious house of Judah. To carry out this purpose, the Pope outlawed all practices or beliefs that he, being the so-called replacement of Christ, did not create, authorize, or approve. Let's take a closer look at the things outlawed by the Pope and the Inquisition. And the following reference reads, "And first, if you know or have heard that any man or woman have kept or observed any Sabbath, according to the rites, ceremonies, and observances of the law of Moses, and on the said days have put on clean a fresh shirt and other garments, or better, handsomer and holy clothes, or have laid clean napkins on the table and clean sheets on the bed in honor of the said Sabbath, or have not blown up or nor kindled their fire, or have abstained from all their work on the said Sabbath, and begun to keep them from Friday evening, or who have celebrated the Passover of unleavened bread, beginning this sort of food."
When did they say? When did he say they started keeping Shabbat?
He said if anybody was doing or preparing or something by Friday evening.
Friday evening, for all these people that sun up to sundown. We see what our ancestors was keeping it. Let's go back so people don't think I'm crazy. Hold on. Well, they don't think I'm crazy anyway. But what is it?
Heard that any man or woman have kept or observed any Sabbath, according to the rites, ceremonies, and observances of the law of Moses, and on the said days have put on clean a fresh shirt and other garments, or better, handsomer and holy clothes, or have laid clean napkins on the table and clean sheets on the bed in honor of the said Sabbath, or have not blown up or nor kindled their fire, or have abstained from all their work on the said Sabbath, and begun to keep them from Friday evening, or who have celebrated the Passover of unleavened bread, beginning this sort of food with lettuce, parsley, and other green herbs, or have observed the Passover of tabernacles by fixing up green burls or rich tapestry, feasting and accepting each other's invitation to eat and drink, or if they expect the Messiah promised in the law, or have said that the Messiah promised in the law is not yet come, but is to come, and that they yet expect him to deliver them from that bondage, which they say they are under, and to lead them into the promised land. And as you can see, these are just a few of the things that were outlawed by the Pope. And ironically, these are things that both Christ and the apostles observed when they walked the earth. And also, this doctrine of the Pope was an all-out assault on the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High.
That is the
All right. Well, some of the things outlawed by the Pope.
That was the
one who
Constantine
calls
Creed,
himself
pretty
the
much what he
replacement
was talking
of
about right
Christ.
there.
He outlaws the Most High's Sabbath, which is the fourth of the 10 commandments, which was written by the very finger of the Most High Yah himself. And the Pope also outlaws resting on the Sabbath, as well as outlawing all of the Most High's holy days or his feast days, including Passover and Tabernacles. And finally, but not limited to, the Pope also outlaws the Jews believing that the Messiah will deliver them from their present bondage. Now, keep in mind, the Christian church, led by the Pope, didn't persecute the Jews because they didn't believe in Christ. Because according to references, some Jews did in fact believe in Christ. Instead, the Roman Christian church persecuted the Jews, or the rebellious house of Yehuda, for believing or for observing the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High.
Pause this real quick, because listen, we got to understand this is exactly what the people are waiting for. This is what they say is going to be Jacob's trouble. That some man on high is going to make all these laws about killing us. You see how this has already happened.
That's right.
How it was illegal to observe the Sabbath. It was illegal to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. You see, this has already happened. So it's supposed to happen again. This man sits in the seat, so-called sits in the church. So-called replaces himself with Hamashiach. Shows you with all of his decrees, with all of his laws and ordinances and all this, he is anti-Hamashiach, all that he stands for.
All right.
I just wonder if you correlating all this. This is the godfather of Christianity. This Pope. I'm just wondering if you.
He's the Pontifex Maximus, which they call the high priest.
Yeah, bunch of bull.
That's what it translates to.
Ain't no priest outside of Aaron. That's why Hamashiach even had to have it in his bloodline. It wasn't no getting around it. It's so much not getting around it, he had to have it in his bloodline. Who is this nigga? You know this nigga a Jew? Is he a Israelite?
He's a stranger.
But anyway, let's continue. I just wondered if you was keeping up.
And in turn, they made it against the law to do so. Now, let's read the following Bible verses to see how the Most High, Yah, Christ, and the apostles felt about Yah's Sabbaths, about his holy days. Now, for this, let's go over to Leviticus chapter 23, and let's start at verse 1. And it reads, And Yah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of Yah, which you shall proclaim to be holy.
You on mute. You on mute.
He's about to tell you what holidays you ought to keep if you're going to serve the Most High Yah. Christmas ain't on there. Thanksgiving not on there. Valentine's Day not on there. New Year's Eve is not on there. Your birthday, your mama's day, your daddy's day. These days are not on there at all that you feel compelled to keep and to do and all this. And, you know, let's not be mistaken. All of the outside feasts, outside of the ones he say, these are in honor and esteem to him. Okay. The feast of dedication is to him. Purim is to him. It's in recognition that he saved them out of persecution and destruction. So Christmas, it's not to him. Valentine's Day, not to him. Thanksgiving is not to him.
Right.
I'm just saying. Let's just keep it all in context.
Convocations or holy gatherings, even these are my feast. Now notice in this verse it says these are my feasts, which means these are the feasts of the Most High Yah. Now continuing on, let's read verse 3. It says, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. And holy convocation or a holy gathering, you shall do no work therein, and it is the Sabbath of Yah in all your dwellings. So again, we see that this is Yah's Sabbath. It's not the Sabbath of the Jews, but this is in fact the Sabbath of the Most High Yah. Now let's go over to verse 4, and it reads, These are the feast of Yah, even holy convocations or holy gatherings, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 4th day of the 1st month at even is Yah's Passover. So again, we see that this is the Most High's Passover. And if we continue with verse 6, it reads, And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yah. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. All right. Now let's go over to our next quote, our next scripture. And for this, let's do Exodus chapter 12. And let's drop down to verse 17. And it reads, And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for it.
Quick. To bring context to all this, to why we're showing it, you know, it's at this point, it's not going into detail about the Inquisition and Jacob's trouble and all this, but you got to understand, not observing these things, these feast days and all of this was a bad thing for our people. We wanted to observe them. We wanted to keep them, especially Shabbats. You know, we desired to do these things. This was a form of our worship to the Most High. We were at the penalty of death, not allowed to worship the Most High how he said for us to worship him. All a part of Jacob's trouble. It all goes together. The church will not tell you any of this. You know why? Because they're responsible for it, even unto this day.
That's right.
In this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. So notice that the instructions from the Most High Yah is that this ordinance or this observation of this day, of this feast day, is forever. All right, so now let's drop down to verse 24, and it reads, actually, let's start at verse 23, and it reads, For Yah will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, Yah will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. All right. So we notice that these holy days were in fact supposed to be observed forever. All right. Now for our next scripture. Let's read Matthew verse 26. And let's start at verse 2. And it reads, actually, I'll start at verse 1 and read down. And it says, and it came to pass when Yeshua had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, you know that after 2 days they refuse to abandon the laws, statutes, commandments, and bread. All right. Well, next, let's take a look at the way in which the Christian church persecuted and killed those of the rebellious house of Judah because they refused to abandon the laws, statutes, commandments, and the holy days and the Sabbaths of the Most High Yah. Well, Israel, I must warn you. The references in history you're about to hear will be tough for some, but this history must be given back to you. Let's review. And it reads, it was under this state of things that the humane and benevolent spirit of Christianity dawned upon the followers of Abraham and Moses by burning, roasting, torturing, and maiming, and finally putting to death more than 1/2 of the Hebrew race. It is well-established history that in France alone, thousands of Jews were burned at the stake. On one occasion, 160 men, women, and children were bound hand and foot and thrown into a ditch. Wood was piled on and the torch applied, while numbers of priests stood by with uplifted hands, calling on their Savior to witness the suffering of the unbelieving Jews. Whole families were burned in this funeral pyre for the reason that pious Christians could not see them separated. In other words, the Christians couldn't just burn 1 or 2 members of the family. To them, it only seemed right to burn the whole family. Now, this reference hints at the scale in which the church killed or persecuted those of the house of Judah. It says the church under the Pope killed over 1/2 of the Hebrew race. We know that the descendants of Judah were numerous in Spain and Portugal. For example, the following reference reads, these miserable people, as well as the Jews who then abounded in Spain. And the house of Judah was persecuted so severely by the Christian church that they were all but wiped out from the face of Europe. As the following quote reads, and it reads, 10 persons only were relaxed and 170 subjected to penance. Those who were burnt had relapsed into Judaism. The Jews had been so severely persecuted in the preceding reigns that scarcely any remained. Now, during the time of the Inquisition, the rebellious house of Judah almost always made up the greatest portion of those who were killed by the church. These execution ceremonies were called auto de fes, or acts of faith, in which the victims were burned. For example, this next quote reads, on the 17th of June, 1565, an auto de fe of 45 persons was celebrated. 11 were burnt and 34 condemned to penance. It reads, some of these were Lutherans, but the greater number were Jews. Now, before killing off the rebellious house of Judah in these auto de fes, the Christian church would first arrest these black, brown, swarthy Jews. They then confiscated the property of the Jews. They then forced the Jews to admit to breaking the Pope's laws. They then were required to pledge allegiance to the so-called replacement of Christ and his doctrine. If they refused, they were tortured until they repented or submitted. And if they did not repent or submit, they were killed by burning. Let's read the following reference, and it reads, the prisoner who refused to confess, or whose confession was deemed imperfect, was remained to his cell and left to ponder in solitude and darkness. Except in rare cases, time was no object with the Inquisition. It could afford to wait. Perhaps in a few weeks, his resolution might break down, or he might ask to be heard. If not, 6 months might elapse before he was again called up for hearing. If still obstinate, he would again be sent back. Months would lead into years, and perhaps years into decades, and find him still unconvicted and still a prisoner, hopeless and despairing. Should friendly death not intervene, the terrible patience of the Inquisition was nearly certain to triumph in the end, and the authorities all agreed upon the effectiveness of this delay. And on to our next reference, which reads, from the hall of the tribunal, the prisoner was led immediately unto the torture chamber. This was a sort of subterranean prison or ward, dark.
What's going on? Huh?
I found it, man. I found the video, The Fall of Jerusalem, man.
We finally found it.
Have you seen
Hallelujah.
the video?
The Fall of Jerusalem? I probably have, man. It's been such a
Man, he talk about the blood up to the horse's bridle and everything. Only thing, I think an hour and 12 minutes.
Oh, wow. It is what it is, man.
All right, yeah. All right, well. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Do it then. Shout out to my Agbenaya, Israel, man, doing his thing out here. Sure appreciate him. Edifying the nation. Now, this is really going to talk about all the stuff that you think is going to happen and already happened for real, for real. Well, not all of it, most of it.
Rome invaded Judah or Judea, and also what they were doing during the invasion, and also how the city of Jerusalem finally fell to the Romans. All right, so let's start off by reading some prophecies that had to do with the fall of Jerusalem. And for that, we're going to start off with Luke chapter 21, And let's start with verse 10. So Luke chapter 21, verses 10 through 28. And it reads, and this is the Messiah prophesying. He says, then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences, and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into the prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it, therefore, in your hearts, not to meditate before what you shall answer, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And you shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolks and friends. Some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not be a hair of your head perish. In your patience possess you your souls. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. Now, just to pause just for a moment. Now, note that the people that the Messiah was prophesying about were the people of Judah. Now, let's get going. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Verse 24, it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, or led away into slavery into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Now let's pause here on verse 24, just take note of a couple of things. Now, first thing we notice in verse 24 is that the children of Judah would be led away captive into all nations. And one of the things I try to point out to family and friends and folks that I try to awake, that we try to awaken to the truth, and I'm sure many of you have tried to do the same thing. But we notice that these people have gone into this captivity into all nations. And what I ask people is that, now what other people on the face of the earth has gone into slavery into all nations? It's only one people. It's only one people. And then the other thing that we notice is that the prophecy is that Jerusalem, like the city of Jerusalem, shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So that also tells us that from when, we know that in 70 AD, it was the Romans that came and sacked Jerusalem. So that tells us that from the time that the Romans sacked Jerusalem, that the Gentiles will be trodden down Jerusalem from that time until their time is up. Right? From that time until the time is up. So that's why this event is a key moment in history. It is a very important moment in history for not just the children of Israel, the children of Judah, but actually for the whole world. But let's keep reading, because I want to see if we can read all the way down to 28. Because what we're noticing is that we're reading down in chronological order, right? So as we look back in history, we know that this part, verse 24, has already taken place. We know that the children of Judah have already been scattered to the four corners of the earth. We know that the children of Judah have participated or unwillingly participated in this thing called the transatlantic slave trade, and also the Arab slave trade. Both slaveries were used to scatter the Most High Yah's chosen people to the four corners of the earth. And so we know that that's already taken place. But let's read verse 24 to see what else was prophesied that either have or have not come to pass. So in verse 25 it says, and there shall be signs in heaven and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Verse 26, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Verse 28, and when these things shall begin to come to pass, then look up and lift your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. All right, hallelujah. Praise the Most High Abiyah. All right, hallelujah. So we know that verse 28 has not come to pass yet. We know that verse 27 has not come to pass yet. The Messiah has not returned yet, but that is something, an event that we are looking forward to with great anticipation, because it is associated with our redemption. And so we can say that from between verses 24, so verses 24 has to do with the captivity, and verses 28 and 27 has to do with the coming of the Messiah. We know that as far as time is concerned, that we are in between verse 24 and verse 27. Or between the verse 24 and 27 as far as prophecy is concerned. And so you can see that we are close, Israel. We are close to the end of days. We are close to the redemption and the returning of our Hamashiach, of our Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach. All right. Hallelujah. Praise the Most High Abiyah. All right. And then another verse that I do want to read. Let's see, I actually don't have it up on the screen here. I believe it was... let's see, I believe it's Luke 19. And let me see if I can find it here. Hopefully I can find it. Verse 41. Yeah, verse 41. All right. Luke chapter 19, verse 41. It reads, and we're just going to read about the Messiah, because he's also going to prophesy a bit about Jerusalem. It says, verse 41, and it reads, and when he was come near, he beheld the city. This is referring to the city of Jerusalem, and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto your peace. But now they are hid from your eyes, for the days shall come upon thee, that your enemies shall cast a trench about you, and compass thee round about, and keep thee on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and the children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. So we can see that the Messiah, he's weeping, and he's looking at Jerusalem, and he's prophesying that a trench will be made around Israel, and that it would be dug up, it would be laid even to the ground, and that not one stone would be laid upon another. And Yah willing, in this history lesson, what we're going to see is that that actually did come to pass. And we're going to look at that. We're going to look at some maps of that as well. All right. So first things first, now that we've read some of the prophecies, we know what to expect. I'd like to go into the description of Judah at the time, all right? Because there's some confusion as to what Judah looked like at the time, and that has to do with some imposters that are running around today. But let's do this. So there's a couple of historians that were around, around 70 AD, right, around this time frame. One, of course, is Josephus, and we're actually going to read quite a bit about Josephus. And the other is Tacitus. So Tacitus is a Roman historian, and he too writes about the description of the children of Israel, or the children of Judah. And what Tacitus does is that he's writing, he writes about 70 AD, and then as he's writing about it, he goes into talking about the different ideas as far as like, where did Israel come from? Like, what's the ethnic origin of the children of Israel? And one of the ideas that people had was, and I have it highlighted on the screen, it reads, many again say that they are or were a race of Ethiopian origin. So in other words, the thought was that Israel originated from Ethiopia, that they originated from Ethiopia, who in the time of King Cephas, they were driven by fear and hatred. All right. So Tacitus shows us that even back during the time of the fall of Jerusalem, that some believe that the children of Judah were of an Ethiopian origin. So, of course, it kind of goes without saying, if people believe that they were of Ethiopian origin, then they looked African. We do have more references. So I'm just going to show you just a quick reference. This reference comes from 1859. And hopefully you can see the reference there up on your screen. And in this one, we're going to drop all the way down to the bottom where it reads, there are some Jews still lingering in the valleys of the Jordan, having been oppressed by the successive conquerors of Syria for ages, a low race of people, and described by trustworthy travelers as being as black as any of the Ethiopian races. All right. So I just wanted to show you that Tacitus wasn't the only one that believed that the children of Judah or the children of Israel were a race of Ethiopian origin, or that they look like Ethiopian people. And then, I've used this reference in a couple of different videos, but this is just the Lakesh relief. It's a picture of the Lakesh relief. It's in the London Museum. And this is a relief. If you have Bible, get time, take a look at 2 Kings 18:13. And basically what happened was that Assyrians, King Sennacherib comes into Judah's territory. So remember, Israel was separated into two kingdoms. There's the north side, and then there's the south side. So northern kingdom, southern kingdom. The southern kingdom, or what I refer to as the south side, that's where Judah lived, right? It was called Judea. So that's where Judah lived. And in the south side, Jerusalem was in the south side. And also there were other cities in the south side. One of those cities, one of the names of the cities was Lachish. But King Sennacherib, the Syrian king, comes down and he's making war against Judah. On his way to Jerusalem, he stops at Lachish, the city of Lachish, the city of the kings. And he lays siege to it, and he destroys it, breaks down the walls, takes prisoners. He kills many of our brothers and sisters. And then to commemorate, his victory when he goes back home, they make this Assyrian relief, or this stone carving depicting what happened. And within this relief, he shows the Israelites. And this is what you see on your screen. These are the Israelites that were captured by King Sennacherib. And as you can see, just looking at the hair texture alone, you can see that these are Ethiopian type people. They have what I refer to as nappy woolly hair, same as the Ethiopian people. All right. So just another bit of evidence of archaeology showing that the children of Israel, they were people that looked like a people of Ethiopian descent. And that's just one thing to keep in mind, that as we're going through this history, I want you to have in your mind the people of Harlem or the Bronx would most closely resemble people that were in Jerusalem during this time. All right. So just looking at this, I just want you to have in mind of what the people of Judah looked like as they were walking up and down the streets in Jerusalem. As they're walking up and down the streets in Jerusalem, there were people that looked like the people are on your screen. Next slide. Since we're getting ready to talk about the fall of Jerusalem, I'm just going to show you just a couple of different paintings of what the city of Jerusalem looked like, right? And these are just a couple of different depictions. I believe this painting comes from the 1100s, and you can see there, it may be hard to see. There's a lot of colors there. It looks like there's, in this painting, the city is actually being, just to give you an idea of what different artists depicted the city attack.
That's them towers, Doc. You see them towers?
And this is another depiction. Now, this painting comes
I see them. Where's it at?
I want to say the 1500s.
1, 2,
around the 15 or 1400s.
and a big
This
one.
too was a depiction of Jerusalem. Picture or a painting of Jerusalem.
Even on the outside
But
of them, they got towers.
And what we're going to do is
they got
we're going to take
extra
a close
houses.
look at the layout of Jerusalem. Now, I know you may not be able to see the layout in this old picture, but one of the newer pictures of Jerusalem. All right. So there it is on your screen. The layout of Jerusalem. And some people, and what I tell folks is that if you want to have an idea of what Jerusalem looked like, just think of a sandal. Right. So think of it like if someone had on sandals and they were walking through the sand and then they left some footprints behind. This is kind of sort of what that looks like. Maybe not a perfect picture of a sandal, but nonetheless, it kind of sort of looks like a sandal, which is interesting because, there's scriptures out there that talks about the earth being the Most High Yah's footstool. He puts his foot on the earth. And here we have Jerusalem, the capital city. It almost looks like the picture of a footprint of a sandal, which is very interesting. But the thing that I want you to take a look at, and I know you may not be able to see my mouse on the screen, but if you start off to the left, right, you start off to the left, this is where the Romans came into the city. You know, they started from the bottom left, came into this courtyard area, or this area off to the left, and then from there they moved over to the right. Right. Some of this, as we're going through the video, I'm actually going to skip over this slide before we get into the breaching of the walls, you know, where the Romans were and what places that they went to in order to destroy and raze the city and destroy the city.
Let's get into all that.
And some of the factions are burning their provisions, right? Because they want to starve. One side was to starve the other out, give them life upon honorable conditions. So basically, Vespasian watched this resurrection that was occurring in Israel. So Vespasian comes, he sends his General Vespasian. So Vespasian is coming. As Vespasian, he's coming through, he's making his way methodically through Israel. It's not as though he came directly to Jerusalem, no. He came into Israel and he methodically started destroying one city after another, one village after another. And as he's doing this, he eventually comes to the cities or the territory where Josephus is. So Josephus, at this point, he's fighting. I say that he's fighting for the blue team. He's on the Israel side, right? You know, Vespasian, he wins, or he, destroys the place where Josephus was. But Josephus, he actually escapes, and it says Josephus was among the prisoners. And it actually tells us how he became a prisoner. It says he had escaped the general massacre by flying from the midst of his enemies, and with 40 of his bravest men concealed himself in a deep cavern. His retreat was discovered to Vespasian. So Josephus goes and he hides, he's hiding with his men. Vespasian, finds him and discovers him. But it says that the famous general sent to offer him life upon honorable conditions. So basically, Vespasian decided not to kill him. He gave him an option, right? He gave him an option. And so actually, Josephus was going to take him up on the offer. But unfortunately, the men the men, they rebuked Josephus for it. They said they would rather die in order to surrender to the Romans. So what they decided to do, they took a death pact. And they took a death pact. They decided to kill themselves. And to do it, they drew lots, right? Kind of like drawing straws nowadays. And so as the men are drawing lots, one after the other, they're killing themselves, or they're killing one another. And as they're going through this process, it comes down to two men, Josephus and one of the other men. And I can kind of imagine that at this point, Josephus kind of came up with an idea. He's like, brother, I have another idea. Instead of us killing each other, let's go and talk to Vespasian. Let's go over to Vespasian. And needless to say, that's exactly what happens is in that Josephus goes over to Vespasian. Of course, from there, he's a prisoner of the Romans. Right? He's a prisoner of the Romans. And actually, Josephus plays a role in, how can I put it? Josephus plays a role in the events to come. Okay, we know what happened, what kicked things off. We know that Vespasian is on his way over to Jerusalem, but he's methodically making his way to Jerusalem. And as he's making his way, destroying cities, destroying towns, killing lots of the children of Israel, he picks up Josephus along the way. So now Josephus is in his camp as a prisoner. Something else happens. I call it the Three Amigos. So we have, when all this ruckus, within Israel started, we have these people that today we would refer to them as zealots. So they were the ones that were fighting against the Romans. And within the zealots, three factions were created. So three groups were created in these zealots. One of the groups was headed by John. One was manned by Simon, and the other by Eleazar, right? And these three factions fought against each other, right? They were actually killed and murdered each other as far as the men in these factions. And these factions, eventually they made their way into Jerusalem, where they continued their civil war, right? All the while Vespasian is making his way through Israel to Jerusalem, where these three factions, just kind of pause here for a moment. And this is where we can really learn about division within Israel. because as the Romans were advancing, Israel was fighting against one another. You know, these three zealots, these three groups, John, Simon, and Eleazar, they were fighting against each other. And let's read about it, because actually the Romans saw that and they took advantage of it. So it says, after the conquest of Galilee, so after this is Galilee was where Josephus was. So after they destroyed the Galilee, picked up Josephus, it says, you know, by the reduction in Gaza City, it says Titus joined his father. So now Titus is joining the party. So Titus is the son of Vespasian, and he joins him at Caesarea, where his troops were permitted to enjoy an interval of repose. So they took a pause during the remainder of this and in the following year. All right, so they're pausing for a moment. And it says, the Roman Empire prevented Vespasian from pursuing the war in vigor. He says, he the more readily deferred commencing the siege of Jerusalem from being apprised that the Jews were wasting their strength by internal divisions and facilitating the conquest of their devout city. So basically, Vespasian, you know, he hears about this civil war that's occurring in Jerusalem, and he's willing to let them just go at it, like let them destroy each other, right? So they're waiting and they're watching these factions fight each other, and some of the things that's happening inside the city is, you know, in the city they have these provisions, right? And some of the factions are burning their provisions, right? Because they want to starve. One side wants to starve the other out. So one side gets a hold of the provisions in Jerusalem, and so they start destroying those and burning up their food, right?
Hold on, man. Hold all the horses. I ain't sitting in the darkness. Are you hearing what's going on with this?
Tell me about it.
Are you hearing what the video's talking about?
I just said, tell me about it. What are you specifically talking about? Tell me about it.
About it's a war. It's an army want to invade on the outside, and they on the inside fight.
Right. That's what I was telling you about. They were sitting there fighting in Jerusalem,
Yeah.
and they got caught. And they got caught with their pants. They got.
It's worse than that, because they had food stored up.
Right. But
and one of the factions burned up the food, trying to starve out the other side.
Right.
Now they both gonna starve to death. They can't come together. Same thing is going on now. Before I let you in on my congregation and let you dilute my congregation with your doctrines, we gonna all burn. You know what I'm saying? Like, rather than come to the table to meet with the brethren, I'd rather y'all be over there, we be over here, so we can both starve to death, eating defiled bread, instead of coming together in the name of the Mashiach and praying for revelation and praying for the true ways and the true doctrine, you know, and to ask for miracles and powers to be given us, you know, in a multitude. We'd rather beef. All right. But yeah. Same thing going on now. Ain't nothing new under the sun.
Which they're going to need. They're going to need that when the Romans show up. But they're too busy fighting each other that they're not preparing. They're not working together. They're not fortifying their walls. They're not building towers. None of that. They're fighting each other. They're fighting each other. Our next slide, it says, at a time.
Same thing now. We're not coming together to get land, to defend land against what we know is coming. Even if we don't take their stuff, wherever we dwell at, these heathens are gonna want to come take us and apprehend us. We're not preparing against that. We're not coming together against that. We're not coming together to find a way to feed our children, to feed each other. Too busy beefing. Over doctor. It's crazy, man. Same old thing, man.
Time when a formidable army was rapidly advancing. The Jews were assembling from all parts to keep the Passover. All right. So another important part was that this was during Passover. As the Romans, as Vespasian and Titus now, who joined his father, as they were approaching Jerusalem, all the Hebrews or all the Israelites were coming into Jerusalem from all over these different countries, right? So we had well over 1 million Jews or Hebrews or Israelites in Jerusalem to observe the Passover. We had more than enough people in Jerusalem to defend the city, but they were too busy fighting, right? They're too busy fighting. And also another thing to keep in mind is that this is Passover. This is a Moed, right? This is an appointed time. This is an appointed feast day, right? When the Most High visits His people, right? And what you're going to see is the Romans who don't believe, they don't believe in the Most High, they don't believe in the Elohim of Israel, they actually see something that they note in their books. And this is actually noted in multiple sources, and we're going to read it. So far, we learned that, strike one, it took Rome, assigned the high priest. Strike two, they put that Caesar Borgia guy in the temple, a picture of him. Strike three, they took away the city of Caesarea. So that started the big fight. Emperor Nero, he sends Vespasian to go and squash it, right? And then as Vespasian's going through the cities, he comes to Galilee. He destroys Galilee. He takes Josephus as a prisoner. Meanwhile, in Israel, we have those three factions fighting amongst each other, having a civil war. They take that into Jerusalem, and where they are still fighting each other, they're burning up the provisions. They're doing the opposite of preparing for this massive army that's coming to destroy everybody. They're coming to destroy everybody. But Israel, they're too busy fighting amongst each other. All right. So now that we've set that stage, one of the things that the people of Israel in Jerusalem believed that the Most High had His hedge of protection around the city. So they thought that there's no way that these heathens are going to be able to conquer this city. There's no way that the Romans would be able to conquer it because they had the protection of the Most High Yah. Well, let's take a look at the scriptures that deal with the hedge, right? This hedge. So for that, let's jump over to the book of Isaiah. So let's go to Isaiah and chapter 5. So Isaiah chapter 5, and on the screen there you can see it says verses 1 through 13. So Isaiah chapter 5 verse 1 through 13, and it reads, "Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved has a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof and planted it in the choicest vines and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, between me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes. And now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard." Uh-oh. So this is what the Most High is saying that He's going to do to His own vineyard. And it says, "I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. And I will lay it waste, and it shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns, and I will also command the clouds that they rain no more, or no rain upon it. For the vineyard of Yah of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold, oppression, for righteousness. But behold, a cry." Verse 8, "Woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. And mine ears, saith Yah of hosts, of a truth many houses shall be desolate, even great and fair, without an habitation. Yea, 10 acres of vineyard shall yield one bath, and the seed of an omer shall yield an ephah. Verse 11. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, and that they may follow strong drink, that continue until night, till wine inflame them. Verse 12. And the harp and the viol and the tabret and pipe and wine are in their feast, but they regard not the work of Yah, neither consider the operations of his hands. And then last but not least, verse 13, it says, therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude drive up with thirst. All right. Well, there's a precept for knowledge, and knowledge is actually the word of the Most High. So this is actually saying that they don't have knowledge, they don't have the word of the Most High. But he's telling them that he's taken away the hedge, and as you can see in Isaiah 5, that the hedge gets taken away. And then in verse 13, it says, "Therefore my people are going into captivity." So it was the Most High that took away the hedge, right? The hedge was taken away, and the people captivity. All right. So, and this is what happened. As we said, that this was during the time of Passover, and this was during a moed, during an appointed time when the Most High come in to visit his people. And it's interesting because during this time, the Romans saw something. So as they're approaching the city, as they came to the city, they saw something, during this time of Passover. And we're going to read about it. And it says at the very last paragraph, and it says, prodigies or strange occurrences had occurred, which this nation, prone to superstition, by halting all religious rites, did not deem it lawful to expatiate by offering any sacrifice. All right, let's keep reading. It says, there had been seen hosts joining battle in the skies, the fiery gleam of arms, the temple illuminated by a sudden radiance from the clouds. The doors of the inner shrine were suddenly thrown open, and a voice of more than a mortal tone was heard to cry that the gods were departing. At the same instant, there was a mighty stir as of departure. Some few put a fearful meaning on these events, but in the most, there was a firm persuasion that in the ancient records of their priests was contained a prediction of how at this time the East was to grow powerful and the rulers coming from Judea, right? So basically, Rome was there during the, this time of Passover, this time of visitation of the Most High, they're seeing these odd things occur in the sky, right? They're seeing swords in the sky. They're seeing light in the sky. They're seeing the temple, radiation of light lighting the temple, right? And then they're seeing something depart, right? They're seeing something depart, right? It's saying the gods or the Elohims were departing, right? So this is taking place just before the Romans came to sack the city. And actually, this had to take place before the Romans sacked the city. The hedge had to be removed, right? And let's see here. Let's go to, I want to read about where it says Josephus, among other fearful prodigies, odd things, relates that before the rebellion, when a great multitude were assembled in Jerusalem at the Passover, at the Moed, right? The appointed time of visitation. So he said, Josephus, remember, he's there, he's seeing it for himself. So he's saying at the Passover, and he's being very specific, at the ninth hour of the night. So great a light shone round the altar and the temple that it seemed to be bright day. That a few days after the festival, before sunset, chariots and troops of soldiers in armor were seen passing through the clouds and surrounding cities, and that the priests going into the inner temple felt the place and trembled and heard a voice more than human crying, let us depart hence. Mm. This account was confirmed by Tacitus, the Roman historian, who says, so Tacitus, remember, Tacitus was there around the time that says, Portents and prodigies, or odd things, announced the ruin of Jerusalem. Swords were seen glittering in the air. Embattled armies appeared, and the temple was illuminated by a stream of light that issued from the heavens. The portal flew open, and a voice more than human announced the immediate departure of the Elohims. There was heard at the same time a terrific sound, as if superior beings were actually rushing forth. So, just before the Rome showed up at the doorstep of Jerusalem, the presence of the Most High that was there during Passover, that they left. It left, right? And everybody's, I mean, they're writing about it. It says both.
We read to y'all in Leviticus where he said, if you keep my commandments and my statutes, I will set my temple among you, my tabernacle among you, and I will dwell with you. See how they didn't got off? I don't think in the other falls, if they were ever fighting against each other. Like this is crazy. You people coming against you, you gonna be fighting each other instead of fighting the one that's coming. Like it's crazy. Like it was an abomination. It's against his statutes and commandments. You're supposed to be making peace. Mashiach told you, leave your gift at the altar and go make peace with your brother. Like, how does that translate over to? It's so, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why the Most High left, because what he was seeing was an abomination. It was against his laws and statutes and commandments. Most of the laws is about being fair to your brother.
Mm-hmm.
We just heard how one side burned up the food to try to starve out the other side.
It's crazy.
So, man, we just come to point this kind of stuff out to y'all, man, so that y'all can see that a lot of the stuff you waiting on has already happened. This is why after the fall, they just kept getting calamity after calamity. Things just kept getting worse and worse. It went into slavery. They got persecuted. When they thought they had came out of slavery and was doing good, hadn't gotten all their money back in all these other countries, they was that. Here come the heathen again. Here come the Pope, Catholic Church. Listen, all Jews, all of your belongings belong to us. If you ain't a Christian, you gonna convert. You gonna this. You gonna and put them right back into the servitude they thought they had just got out of. With no running from it, you know, because see, the grievous wound hadn't been laid yet. You got to understand about how all of this coincides with the Most High's prophecy. Like he prophesied that we'd have a grievous wound, that it would take him and his ruach to come in us to bring us back to life again. You know, and until the completion of the slave trade and the completion of all the persecution happened, and we forgot who we were to a point to where we didn't know who we were, who we are. It had to get to that point, and we've gotten to that point. And now it's the awakening. It's the reestablishment into his laws. You know, but part of it is realizing like what that entailed, and what it entailed was that Christianity has been the arm of the destruction through the deception. And we just coming to try to enlighten our people to this so that they could leave that stuff behind, man, and move on to the greater things. Got anything to say?
Say that again.
What you got on your mind, brother? You've been reading. What's on your rule?
No, you sharing it with it, Doc. I'm reserved right now, man. You sharing it for the most part, man. Everything been said that's been said, man. We had Benaiah coming in as a witness and verify that we brought out this earlier today. And it is what it is, man. It's just laid out plainly. If a person don't get it and confused, because they want to be confused, man. Jacob's trouble has already passed. And, you know, we already said you brought it out and made a good point in regards to what brings on Yakub's trouble. And so if you're in obedience, if you trying to do what the Father say do, and you walking according to his righteousness and things, you ain't got to worry about no trouble, that type of trouble coming your way. Deliverance is on the way for those that trust in the Most High Yah and do according to what he said and say, you know?
Salvation
Yeah.
is on the way.
Deliverance. Yes, sir.
And, you know, it's like people make a whole thing of arguing over these points or pointing this stuff out and it's Jacob Trouble, 144, all this stuff. And it's like, man, like, let's address the reason behind this stuff. Let's address that instead of coming together, people was bickering and arguing and fighting. Let's address the fact instead of cleaving unto the Most High Yah and separating themselves from the ways of the heathen, they cleave to it. That those of us sold out to be with them and gave our secrets to our enemies, you know, and oppressed the righteous and dealt out wrong judgment. This is the stuff that's underneath all of that. We want to peel the Band-Aid back, man, and get to the heart of the scar so you can really heal that thing, man. Let's put some ointment on it or something. Let's put some stitches on it or something. Band-Aids ain't gonna do it no more. Christianity was a Band-Aid. You know, Islam was a Band-Aid. A lot of this stuff was Band-Aids, but we don't realize what caused it. That's what we're trying to point out, man, and separate from the doctrines of men to historical fact. What Benaiah brought out was historical fact. We brought out scriptures to you that prophesied about that historical fact that many of you are not aware of. That's why you susceptible to these doctrines, because you're unaware of all the information that's out there.
Right.
So we come to bring you the information so that you'll be aware. That's it. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to amass no followers or to be no overseers and that. Everything points to the Most High Yah and his laws and statutes and commandments. You know what I'm saying? And it's upon each man to get his own understanding of those things so he can be assured of his own salvation. Anybody trying to lord over you and say, I'm the key for you to get through the door. No man has that power. Only Hamashiach. And we know he's more than a man. So, you know, let's just stop the folly, okay? If anything, leaders and guides, pastors, mores, they are supposed to be people that strengthen you along your own path. They're not supposed to walk your path for you. That's how a lot of them act. You the baby, let me feed you the baby food. Nah, man. You're supposed to, you know, set a man right. Help him to be set right, to be equal to you. We're supposed to be brothers. Hamashiach told us, don't be like the Gentiles and exhort authority over one another. You know, let's be ministers. Let's be servants. That's what it's all about, man. And we got to get away from these. Ain't no point in leaving everything else in Christianity but keeping their prophecies, keeping their doctrines, keeping their mindset. All of it was wrong. All of it was wrong, and it was meant to be wrong. The only thing Christianity had right was the book. And if you know the book, you're supposed to know Christianity ain't lived none of it. That's the problem. They gave you the book as a condemnation for real. Because when you go to talking about how you was taught wrong, you was led astray, Most High gonna say, why ain't you read it for yourself? Why ain't you ask me to give you the understanding? Why didn't you do that? You know what I'm saying? So you without excuse. And me and my brother only make it worse. Like we only make it worse that you have no excuses to be like, I ain't never heard about no fall of Jerusalem. I ain't never heard about eating the children and all this. He told the man told you they set up they brought a picture of Cesare Borgia, which is probably most likely not Cesare Borgia because he was born afterwards. But it was more than likely, oh boy, Christos, Serapis Christus. That's
Oh,
more than
shit.
likely who picture they set up in the temple, which is the same thing many people are waiting on with the abomination of desolation.
Hmm.
I tell you, it's already happened. So, you know, these things really, it's only a hindrance. You know, it can't, knowing it and not knowing it can't really get you in the kingdom, but being troubled by it and this being your main concern can keep you out. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all's chosen ones are not deceived. So, cause he wouldn't have them to be deceived. That's why he don't do nothing without revealing it to his prophet. So, if you being deceived, you being tricked, you being hoodwinked, that's a problem. That's a problem. And you need to be about trying to rectify that situation and to fix it. Because Paul told you, these things be not hid. If it be hid, it be hid to those who are lost. But hope you ain't on that side of the tracks. I don't want to be. That's why I'm seeking after knowledge and understanding. You know, I don't concern myself with a lot of the stuff in the world. I'm researching, looking up, Googling, listening to this, listening to that, trying to get some knowledge and understanding. I don't give a damn about no love and hip hop, about the newest challenge. And I mean, listen, man, it's about like what they ain't trying to tell me. The heathen say, look at this. That means I need to be looking somewhere else. Because what they want to show me ain't gonna be worth a damn. I want to know what they ain't trying to show me. That's what a real power is. But yeah, man, 3.5 hours off into this thing. If anybody would like to get the link to this video, you could Google Benaiah Ben Israel on YouTube, The Fall of Jerusalem, a Black History Story. That is the title of the video. You can go on there, you can check that out. This is probably gonna be a multi-part series, separating from the doctrines of men. There's plenty other Christian doctrines we need to touch and get them out the way, because these things, it's gonna cause you to be set upon like a thief in the night. You're gonna be looking for some stuff that already happened, or some that's just completely false altogether.
Mm.
And Hamashiach is gonna be in the sky, waiting to cause destruction for them who ain't did better, because they ain't know better. So, you know, it's gonna be plenty more of these to come, multi willing. We're gonna talk about plenty other things, and you know, this is one of the hindrances to our people. We try to attack topics or subject matter that is a hindrance to our people, and we try to cast them down, man, and cast them out, because you know, you're not plagued with leprosy, you're not plagued with being paralyzed or blindness. You plagued with doctrines of men, fables, and you know, idols in your heart and in your mind. Come to get them out you. Most I will. Yeah, man. You got anything else to say to the people, man? So we close out, pray out, get up out of here.
Everything was said, man. Until next time.
Let them use you, man. Let them use you, man.
I always do, man.
I know they always do, but tap
But,
into
yeah.
a little bit of that today. Tap into it. That's what we heard.
Let us pray, man. Let us supplicate, man.
All right, hallelujah.
To y'all. Hallelujah. Baruch atah b'Yahweh, L'heinu Malachah Haolam. Tuda Rabbah, blessed are you, Yahweh, King and ruler of the universe. Abba Yahweh, we ask you, we actually thank you, Father Yah, for the information and knowledge that you brought forth today. We ask you, we thank you, Father, for all that you have done and all that you're doing. We thank you for your great Ruach, Father Yahweh. We thank you for the Mashiach. We thank you for saving the lost and bringing us back to the knowledge of you and the knowledge of ourselves. To the Rabbi Yahweh, we thank you, Father Yah. And I can't thank you enough, Father. I just want to thank you. Thank you for the day. Thank you for the Shabbat. Thank you. As we go into next week, we ask you that you will give us everything that we need in order to be productive, and to bear righteous fruit coming in and going out, Father Yah. We thank you in Yahushua Mashiach's name. Let your will be done always amongst us. Hallelujah. So be it.
So be it. Hallelujah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Thank all y'all for joining. Those of you who just now coming in, I seen a spike in the numbers or whatever. Go back and check out the beginning of the video. We kind of outlined what we was talking about. And please too, man, bear with me and my brother. This whole thing about technology and doing podcasts and knowing it, I just, man, come from the streets and stuff like that, man. Ain't nobody really knowed about all this technological stuff. I know how to roll a blunt. I know how to balance a scale. You know what I'm talking about?
Been there, done that.
I could eyeball a couple grams for you. I definitely know how to do that. You know what I'm talking about? I know how to, do other things. But we learning, most high willing, we gonna get all this stuff figured out, man, and get it to a level deserving of having the Most High Yah's name tied to it. You know what I'm saying? Because he don't deal in rags or whatever. He said, I picked you up, cleaned you up out your blood, and placed you in fine garments. So, we gonna get to the point to where we on the level where, it ought to be. We gonna get there, but all praise to the Most High.
Yeah.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom to the brethren, all those that join in, all those that will join in, like, share, subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. Life of an Israelite. 12 tribes.
One nation.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.